Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm going to call the Marion Township Board of Supervisors workshop meeting for Saturday, March 22nd to order. The time is now 9:04 a.m. As always, meetings are recorded for audio and video, so we ask that you please silence your cell phones. I also need to do that.
Cell phones.
Cell phones, yeah, plural. Yeah, it's what it is. There we go. Okay. Anybody wishing to address the board, please do so by coming up towards the microphone a little bit. There's not a podium anymore, but get in this general area so that we can hear your comment clearly on the record. And then be sure to clearly state your name and address and sign in as well. So I'd like to ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. At this time, I'll open up the floor for public comments. We don't have, actually, we do. Do we have, is that from the work? Okay, so we've
I'm
got,
on there first. I'll
Okay.
pass and
Okay.
speak when necessary.
okay, thank you, Dan. And then
And then
Beverly.
Beverly.
Beverly Brossman, 412 Water Street, Strasburg, PA. I have several issues here that were brought to my attention by people over at the playground when they come. The first one is our tetherball. Two people came over to me, called me over to the playground, said that they saw a young couple with a dog over at the tetherball. And the dog was hitting around on it, and the next thing they said, the ball broke in half.
Mm.
And then the dog was chewing on it. Then another day, this same couple came, and the dog had one of those shields around its face. So they say never assume, so I'm not going to assume, but I would think that the dog got something in its throat. And while they were there, another young couple came with their two dogs. They were on the leash. Now, this other first couple was on a leash, but they let the dog run around. They did not hold it all the time they were there. Where this second couple with a little girl, a little baby, had two dogs, and the man held the dogs the whole time. Well, the next thing you know, I'm in the yard and I'm hearing this yelling and stuff. And here, the one that was on the leash, but not held, was going over towards the family where the two dogs were. That concerns me. Yes, they are on a leash, but the first couple did not have a hold of, they were not in charge of their dog. The second one is, and I heard you were talking about the walk path. 2 years ago, I approached Landscape, Mr. Randall, and he had offered to help us with that. So I have not talked to him since because everything was getting on hold and stuff. So if someone can approach him to see if he's willing to help make it temporary.
Randler's out of business.
Yeah.
Oh, he is?
Randler sold the business.
Okay, well then maybe the people that, but he had offered, maybe son or daughter or whatever took over. I don't know. Okay. This is going to sound strange, but the mothers would like to have, when the playground gets painted, rainbow colors, except pink. This comes from two different mothers
Why no pink?
because of the boys.
Well, that's
The boys.
That's
I
right.
was gonna say we
Yeah,
got to.
well, maybe whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just telling what I wrote down what I was asked to.
Girls need to paint the park just as much as boys,
Yeah.
and I don't associate any.
They
colors
want
with
the
girls or boys.
Yeah.
paint
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
multicolored.
I mean, technically speaking, pink isn't in the rainbow, but
Oh,
Yeah.
but
bizarre.
yeah. Yeah.
Also, the basketball court, there were two different families there the other day of a total of 7. Could it be possible, since I wasn't able to continue because of the painting and stuff, could that be painted? That is used every day, that
The
basketball.
basketball.
It's already on our list.
Yeah, as I say, yeah.
Okay. The MCT had volunteer myself do 7 hours of community service. One of the neighbors up the street, that moved in recently, maybe a year or so, time goes too fast. She is by herself and she was out in her yard and she had just had surgery. So I went over and I was raking and leaves and trimming and all that stuff for her. Also in my book, which I bought, has a whole set listings of maintenance for the road crew. So it goes by dates, by months of different things that, so here right in our book, there is a list of
There's
things.
a few examples in that book of
Sure.
different
Right,
things.
right, of different things also.
And that is a suggestion. It's not a requirement.
Uh,
There's a few
an
different models
example.
in there too.
well, I'm just saying, you can take, Carl can take these and look at it.
We have more
And
copies here in the office.
So,
Carl,
yeah,
you-
I know,
Yeah,
but
you
I'm,
have it.
I'm just going through what I was looking at, no.
And I'm not interrupting you, I'll let you go, but keep going. But I did have a conversation with Carl and he has a lot of things on his list. We were just waiting for the weather to break.
Yeah,
Same thing with like the painting of the basketball court. When you
Yeah.
reached out to me, me and Carl we're talking about what supplies we have, what we don't have, what we need and what we don't need to get that job done. So
well,
Right now it's
I
still
was
cold,
told
but-
when I talked about this, that you can use the same line paint as you do for the highways.
I mean, you functionally can. I don't know if you should, but
Well,
yeah.
I'm just,
Well,
right. And
Yeah.
those machines,
What notes
those
I
machines are a
wrote
little
down.
bigger
yeah,
Okay.
in the
yeah,
street to paint
yeah.
a court. You're not gonna get one of those machines inside the
oh,
tennis
yeah,
court.
Not
I
easily.
know, I got, yeah,
Right.
I went out and bought a can of paint,
Yeah.
line
Yeah,
paint,
no, yeah.
but then I wasn't able to continue
Carl
painting.
was looking
Yeah.
at line striping for actual parks, so he can actually do it professionally the right way.
I actually
And it
found
looks good.
a reusable stencil kit
Okay.
that I'm probably gonna go that way for the radius.
Yeah.
It is perfect the way it's supposed
I
to
mean,
be.
you
Yeah.
can see, you can still see some of the lines that are there.
It's on our agenda. We're gonna make sure that it gets done and gets done right.
And I saw some meetings coming up, and according to this book in here, there's a professional that comes out to the parks and does the weeding.
If you pay them.
Yeah.
Well,
So again, the.
Yeah.
there is a lot of money
Okay.
for maintenance.
No,
No.
there isn't.
There isn't,
No.
there isn't.
according to this,
No,
there's
okay,
supposed to
okay.
be.
That is a study, and those are recommendations and guidelines. That is a study that us and Tulpehocken and Bethel put together, and those are suggestions and guidelines. It's not a supposed to be. Those are guidelines, and those are aspirations that we're trying to get to. A lot of things have changed over the past couple of years since we've done that study, and I could honestly say, as a treasurer, money is extremely tight right now.
Yeah.
So with all the road projects that we just had completed with Hydroterra and the sewer system, there's a lot of stuff. So that is not gospel, that is just a recommendation.
I'm not saying it's
Yeah.
gospel, okay?
It actually is a very good book though.
Oh, it
It's
is, it
excellent
is,
book.
It's
it
a very
is.
good
excellent
book
book.
and we spent the money to
Yeah.
be involved with writing that book.
Right,
Yeah.
right, absolutely.
So there's a lot of good things in there that we should be following. And I
And,
have
and,
one issue allocating money per year, X amount of money for maintenance for that park. We
Yeah.
should.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
just gotta figure out how much we can
Right.
build on the
And what we
budget.
want to handle first.
Exactly.
and
right.
we're blessed to have a roadmaster now who will actively engage and do the work that needs
He
to
wants
get
to.
done.
Yeah.
He wants
I
to.
know,
Yeah.
he's great. He did a
Yeah.
great job on Strasburg Road at that whole, that's excellent. That worked.
Yes, there's more to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that
Yeah.
was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know he
Yeah,
does.
if
Yeah.
I could speak to the dog matter,
Yeah.
if there's anything that's going on, if you have a concern, you need to call 911 and you need to tell other people to call 911. Any animal within the township has to
Has to
be
be on a leash.
leashed. If a dog or other animal defecates on public property or anyone else's property, it has to be cleaned up. Our ordinance lists animals, not just dogs. So if you think the dog is not under someone else's control, then that's a police matter and a police determination. They have to be leashed if they're in a public space. They cannot be off leash. Do we have any signs in the
There
park?
was
that
a
say-
sign at one time
Yeah.
that said no
Yeah.
pets.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
actually gonna
Well, we
suggest
Well,
putting up a leash
a
ordinance
leash
sign.
ordinance sign
Yeah.
rather than pets. I don't want to discourage people from walking with their dogs in the park, but we need to have some signage that says dogs must be curbed, animals must be leashed, period, and it's over with. Is there a trash can in the park?
So
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
there's trash cans in the park.
Yeah.
I have some personal feelings on this. It's about animals and that. Everybody knows that I have a soft spot for dogs, right? Everybody. So usually it's the owner's fault if the
Yeah.
dog is out of
Oh, yeah.
line, right? So, I mean, when I first came to Stouchburg in 2013, no dogs were allowed in that park. There were signs there that said no dogs in the park. I always had my dog under control. My dog put two paws on that grass one time and somebody came out and yelled at me. And it was just from walking down
Yeah.
the path.
But
So,
honestly, there's no ordinance.
Yeah.
Right, and so I thought that was
enforceable.
very inappropriate.
Yeah.
As long as dog owners are doing the right thing, I think it's okay, and cleaning up after their animal. We should have adequate waste baskets there for them to do so. If there's a problem with a neighbor actually, having their dog chew off your tetherball or something, you need to call right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right away, not tomorrow,
Well,
not.
see, I didn't
Right.
see it and they told me after, a couple
Well,
days after, but
See,
Still-
then again, it's hearsay, right? So we don't know if it actually did happen or not, right? So
They need to call
trust
911.
but
That's
verify,
it.
right?
That's what we're
So
paying our police for.
Yeah.
Just dial
And
911.
no matter how many ordinances and signs you put
Yeah.
up, if somebody isn't following the rules,
Yeah.
it's gonna happen. You
Right.
have to call it
Right.
in because, again, the best intentions, you can put all sorts of signs up and whatever, and if somebody doesn't do it, then you have to have the mechanism to be able to kind of stop that bad behavior.
Yep.
So,
that's all.
but please call.
yeah,
Please call.
absolutely.
I had a conversation with Larry. He wants you to call for everything.
Oh, yeah,
In
no.
that park. So.
Larry is very enthusiastic about his job.
He's very.
Beverly, thank you for your concern and your dedication to the
Yep.
town. We really
We do
appreciate
appreciate it. Okay, Dan deferred, so if there's no other public comments at this time, we'll move into the main items for discussion. The first one is around the Act 537. Not many major updates there. Hydra Terra has submitted a couple of reports to us, so I'll give everybody a real quick high level. As of when the Terra Tracker system went in, we have 112 properties that have submitted pumping reports so far. And we're going to keep that progress going. We have a couple of grants that we have gotten their help with writing that have been awarded to us. The first one was the one in 2023, which was $69,570 for doing the design of the low pressure system. Design for that is in progress, and we're going to have I think a draft for that. There we go. Hey. The next one was another grant that they helped us submit. This was for the Emergency Management Agency Trailer and Incident Command Unit. That was a grant of $56,116. That was the LSA statewide grant. And then there was another one also in that statewide grant for the Tulpehocken Police Department. That was for $38,134. So thank you immensely for all your help on that. That is well over 100,000, kind of getting close to the $200,000 mark that we've gotten over the past couple of years with your help. So greatly
Plus,
appreciate it.
We just closed out, so that's.
Yes.
300.
Yep.
So, very
Yep.
exciting.
So the $300,000 one is still like being decided upon, right? That's
Well, the first grant we got that we just closed out was awarded about 105,000,
Yep.
Okay.
so that's no longer on the report.
okay.
And then, yes, we've gotten about $300,000 worth of grants,
That's-
and then,
Excellent.
yeah, Joe will discuss the design.
Yeah.
Once we have the design in hand, then we're really gonna start targeting and have a discussion about what's next.
Okay. And then kind of on top of that, we are still in the running for the 2024 Congressional Multi-Purpose Grant, which would be $370,000 that we would be able to use towards the building. Renovation, repair, replacement, et cetera. That'd be a huge game changer for anything that we're trying to do with that space.
Yeah.
370,000. So 370K. Since we have you here, is there any, it's submitted and it's currently in for consideration for financial year 2025 with the Senate and or House.
Well, they both have to approve it, and right now, because Senator Casey is out of office, Senator Fetterman's office took our mantle and emailed us that they're still pushing it. So we are actually, Marion Township, Berks County, PA, written in the congressional bill that the senators and House of Reps are voting on.
Okay, Kim and Joe?
Yeah, so I guess going back to the sewer management program, it's getting to be that time of year. Everybody's getting active, grass is growing. suggest that we send a newsletter out to the homeowners reminding them of, doing maintenance on their system. Use the terror tracker model. So, with your blessing, we can go ahead and get started on that.
Yeah.
As far as the low pressure design, I do have a draft here. I mean, I don't know that we really need to roll it out, but at some point, maybe after the meeting, I could share it with a couple folks.
And so let's go through it after the meeting, and then we can talk more about it on Thursday night.
So the next steps that I see for the draft, essentially, before I even get it out there for, public comment or anything, is that we want to get it over to the low pressure, equipment manufacturers so they can take a look at it, make sure that they are on board with what we have on the drawings. And then I believe, we also want to get it down to Wilmsdorf Sewer Authority. I'm not sure where it'll land down there at the sewer authority, because I think you recall when we were there some time ago, they were reluctant to do anything. And I think that's been the status quo for the last 2 years at this point.
Yeah.
But maybe when they see that, in an actual plan, that'll get them enthused a little bit. So, that's the next step, is really getting the draft plan over to the manufacturer and getting it down to Wilmsdorf Sewer Authority. And then from there, once we get their input, we'll go ahead and start writing specifications for it and getting it a little bit closer to releasing for construction bids.
Okay, excellent. Anything for you, Kim?
I think,
No.
that was great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, definitely feel them at any time. It's more than welcome.
Okay.
I think that's a summary of it, Joe.
Yeah, I think, it's been a little bit of a push the last
Yeah.
month or so.
I could just add, our program with Hydroterra, with the sewer management program, it's working out well with respect to our levy. It was over $100. That was the only difference that we had for last year.
Okay.
So the sewer levy that we implemented pays for that management program.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
One question for Peter.
Yes.
So this is before my time,
Yes.
but a couple people cornered me, so I didn't want to answer the exact thing if I didn't know the answer.
Yeah.
So there is a sewer tax that people are paying.
It's the sewer levy.
It's the sewer levy.
Okay,
So that is,
that's why I want him to explain to the
Yeah.
people
It's
what
the
it
sewer
means,
management
because he
program.
knows it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
so,
don't know it.
so the sewer levy that's
I was
on the
just gonna
tax
say
bill
something about
Yeah.
that, because I had a couple calls.
is to pay for the unfunded requirement from the state of having a sewer management program. And that is making sure that we keep track of who has pumped on the 1 or the 4-year intervals,
Yeah.
who hasn't, who has sand mounds versus septic systems versus holding tanks. That is what funds the program that
Yeah.
we have Hydroterra doing, which is sending out the letters and, making sure everybody's inspected and,
So
all that good stuff.
Yeah, but I could rewind a little bit more for
Yeah.
that. Previously, we, under our ordinance, we had to have a sewer enforcement officer go out and physically inspect the tank.
Mhm.
When that person, they had to arrange when a pumper, the SEO, and that person would have to pay, I think it was $200 to have their tank pumped. So we decided then, instead of having people pay when they pump, it was much easier to spread that cost over 4 years, because we have that 4-year cycle. So $50 a year turns out to the $200. And it again, just like I said before, it's a wash when it comes to paying for a sewer management program.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
pivot on that was, rather than having people
Coordinate
everything and pay out
Yeah.
of pocket, we then let them,
Right.
get somebody to come out and pump, but there are
Yeah.
still the sunk costs of making sure that the letters go out, that the tracking happens, that, if there's any
Mhm.
enforcement actions that has to happens.
Mhm.
So that's why that's still
Could
on the
it be
books.
Reword it on the,
Yeah.
No,
Actually,
no.
because
No.
it looks like a sewer.
It
Well,
says,
reads
it
like a
says
sewer
levy.
tax.
it says,
Levy.
it says sewer, but technically speaking, whether it's municipal sewer
It's
or
separate.
municipal sewer.
It was
Yes.
confusing the people, and they're
Yeah.
saying, why am I getting
Yeah.
a $50 tax on my
Just-
bill
again,
when I don't have
just-
sewer?
Yeah,
Just
well,
have them
you
call
do,
the office.
you do, it's just not
Yeah.
a central system.
Yeah,
Right.
just
Yeah.
have them call the office, because
Yeah.
we went through these problems last year too.
Yeah.
And it's because the county has it,
Oh, that's what it was.
yeah, it's a county,
Yeah,
yeah.
there, you have to
We have
pick
to
from
submit the
a list of
tax bill.
things. It's
So
not
that's
like
the
you can
only
just
way that the
freeform it.
county can,
Right.
will allow us to describe it, because we had asked that question before.
Yeah.
So no, it's the county that has it worded like that. So it's a levy, not a tax.
Right.
technically, and instead of having everyone to coordinate, because that was more of an obstacle than anything
Yeah.
else, getting someone out there at that time to have it. And we've made it easier, allowing the pumper to do the paperwork and do
Yeah.
the inspection.
Not to mention, we didn't, like, not to put that on Lisa,
Yeah.
but we don't have the manpower here
Yeah.
to do all the tracking and administrative work on that.
Right,
So we have
I
to,
just didn't
Yeah.
want, I didn't
Yeah.
want to misspeak and answer people.
Oh,
wrong
yeah.
that I did not
Yeah.
know.
yeah,
That-
no,
if that
so,
makes sense.
yeah, the biggest takeaway, if anybody complains, especially about the name, is the county has a like choose your own adventure list of you
Yeah.
have to pick from these things. We can't have like the Jesse is awesome levy.
Right.
They don't let you
I
free
get it.
form that in.
I get
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I just want to be able to explain it correctly, and that's why I thought I would ask.
Yeah, no, when in doubt, always
Yeah.
ask, please.
So.
Okay, if that's that, we'll move on to the next thing. The restoration of the building, by the way, skip number 2.
Sure, one and then
One-
three.
one.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. Two to be decided. Restoration of the current building. So we had a special meeting on Thursday with the it was Megan McNish from the Historical Society. I'm going to jump forward just a second here. That discussed a number of things about what makes historic districts and what makes a place eligible for these sorts of things. And the good news is we're already on a register, and the building definitely is of some historical significance and notation. It's on the register.
Yeah.
So with that said, I think everybody would certainly prefer the option of restoring the building. We have to assess all the options so that we make a good decision. But to that end, we had started talking to Practical Preservation Services. Danielle Kepperling was here and Dana Clark was here. And they went through a very nice pitch of things, and we had some follow-up questions on how do we actually get this started rather than jumping both feet into the deep end of the pool for like 25,000. So they sent back a quote and a specification on doing that initial assessment on the plumbing, the HVAC, the foundation, the interior conditions of the building. And that kind of top to bottom review would cost between $8,900 and $10,700. The only question that I had kind of in conjunction with that was, are we going to get I'll say sort of a hypothetical or proposed floor plan out of that for use as part of that?
That's something we need to ask.
We need to ask that, but otherwise, I think this is the not logical next plunge that we have to take with the building.
Mhm.
So being as this is a workshop rather than the actual meeting, we'll vote on it Thursday night.
Right.
But I think we should go forward with that so that we better understand what we're actually working with the building.
We should ask her that question. though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can
And
email
if
her.
it's, even if it's
Yeah.
1,000 extra, 2,000, whatever.
Well, I
it
mean,
is, I'd like to see the floor plan with it.
I
too,
think
but-
just personally, it doesn't explicitly say it, but the review studies and concepts of the Architectural Assessment Committee, I would almost want to try to shoehorn that in there of like,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be like a full CAD drawing of something, but
Right.
like, here's the rough outline of the building. We know you want a meeting space. We know you need an office space. We know you want bathrooms for,
And-
obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And then here's kind of what we would think a layout would be, but we'll get an architect involved later. So like, it doesn't have to be set in stone. I just
Right.
want to kind of see where the
Right.
thinking is going.
Right, and like I was saying before the meeting started, Fleetwood, not to bring up another municipality, sorry guys.
Yeah.
They're old school, they're renting out rooms to generate income, office space, they're renting out, they were renting out the gymnasium, we don't have that, of course, to the YMCA and the whole 9 yards for the people to use. So they're also generating income with it to help that building maintain
We
itself.
previously have done that
That's something
too.
we need to do.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of
Yeah.
space that's not utilized in
We're-
that building. It's huge. And
We're,
it's all just full of just boxes and
we're
just
in,
array.
we're in a situation where we have to build it for
Correct.
people to come.
Correct.
If we have a large gathering hall, that's something that people could rent out for birthday parties or wedding
Right.
receptions, or like the community association could do bingo nights or something like that. There's a lot of stuff that we could do with it, but we don't have the capability to do
Yeah.
it right now.
Correct. Not
Yeah.
right now, but if that was thought about 20 years ago,
20, 30 years ago,
30
yeah.
years ago,
Yeah.
I mean, that building can sustain itself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it needs a lot of love,
Yeah.
It does.
but
Yeah.
it can do it, yeah.
What you saw is the room that I was using, that was rented out to the group.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
just a meeting a night. I'm
Right.
talking about an 8 to 5,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? That's what generates your money, right?
Yeah.
Like paying rent here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Per month.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
generating real money.
Yeah.
We can generate some real money with that building
Yeah.
if we use that space correctly.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we need to sacrifice the meeting
Right.
hall or the community space either.
Right.
That can be rented for onesies and twosies here and there and
Yeah.
X. I'm saying there's a whole second floor there that could be utilized a lot better than what it
Yeah.
is.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Again, we
Yeah.
gotta figure out, I would love to see, like I said, just a potential, just doing graph paper
Yeah.
even, like, doesn't have to be anything crazy of like, okay, this is the kind of space you're working with. You have X number of thousand square feet. You've got, this, that, and the other thing, and these are the considerations you have to make around ADA and, this, that, and the other thing. But, you could have a large meeting space and a couple of offices on the first floor, and then you could have office space on the second floor, or you could do this or that or the other thing. Like, that's where we need to kind of get that
Yeah.
fleshed out, assuming they don't find something horrible with the foundation
Yeah.
or something
Right.
Yeah.
with the building.
Can you, I know I had asked you,
Yeah.
I need the line items for the budget. I just have.
Oh, yeah,
to-
yeah.
No,
No,
fine.
it is up on the SharePoint.
Okay, so
I'll make
just
sure you
let
have
me
it.
click
Yeah.
on it there,
Mhm.
so I could get you guys real numbers for what we're expecting for this year then
Yep.
with the budget, so.
Okay.
So as I was
Yep.
looking, everything matches both of these.
Yeah,
It's just the
it's just-
number,
I know.
the numbering is
No,
off,
that's
so.
fine. That's fine. I'm just giving you a little grief about it.
It's okay, Lisa doesn't like the number two.
Yeah, that's okay. Noted.
No, there's more different numbers that are off in the
Yeah,
the
well,
whole
it's,
thing,
it's
so.
a cascading effect, but
Yeah.
anyway, moving right along, future planning, I don't think we need to belabor this too much. We already kind of have an idea of what we're going to be focusing on. The building is going to be a high priority as part of that, like, entry into that first 5 year. We're going to be working on doing some additional playground maintenance and a couple of small pop-up projects, if you will, about maybe refinishing the bleachers. Carl's going to be repainting the basketball courts. If there's anything that we need to do for multi-purpose or the volleyball court, as the spring starts to progress, we can bring that in. And then Lee, you had actually mentioned to me about like the MTCA stuff with the park grants. I think we missed the DCNR submission window this year, but we can start getting our ducks in a row for 2026. And then I would suggest focusing either on like the walking track that you had said about, or focusing in on like one particular piece of playground equipment, and then trying to go for a grant for that. Or depending on how spicy everybody's feeling, you could try putting in for the whole thing and see if DCNR funds it. But there is a matching component to that grant that you have to make sure that you either have letters of intent to be able to satisfy, or raw capital to be able to just straight out pay for. So we can connect, and I
We've
can.
also got numbers now on, there's a lady in Philadelphia that, takes out old, equipment.
Yeah.
And, or if they're ripping the building down or
Mhm.
whatever, and she sells it.
Yeah.
Very reasonable,
So recycler person.
right? It's,
Okay. Okay.
that-
Yeah.
That was another.
That's
thing.
another thing that we could bring into there. But like fundraising things, like we had talked about for, like, if we build a spot where there would be bathrooms in the future, whenever there's
Right.
better facilities
Oh,
for
yeah.
that.
We need
You-
a function.
I know. We need a functioning
Yeah,
system in the
our
building,
tank is
but the tank and the drain field are fine. It's the
Yep.
pipe going from the building.
It's just
But
a
anyway,
pipe.
what I was going to say is, like, you could do like a brick fundraiser that, like, you buy a brick,
Right.
or like buy a park bench, or
Well, if you look at Newmanstown, they have different places where they put wooden things up.
yeah, where it says
with-
like
with
somebody's
the
name.
names and the dates that these people donated,
Yeah,
and it's a whole big area.
Yep.
With that.
yeah.
And also, I like to get permission to, be able to, put mulch in, for when we do a workshop,
Okay. When, where do you want to put the mulch down? Just in the, like, the playground area?
where the swings are, that whole area there, and then that flower bed over on the side.
One thing I want to bring up, because I was in that park last year when this happened, the liner shop.
Yeah.
So no matter how many times you weed it, underneath that mulch is a liner. It's all tore up.
Yeah.
So the liner needs to be replaced.
Yeah.
There's a weed barrier that needs to be replaced before you lay mulch in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
can you get us numbers before you go ahead and do stuff?
Well, what I've been doing years before all the problems started, Bruce was donating the mulch as long as we would get it.
Okay.
Was it playground
So,
mulch?
what's that?
It's gotta be playground mulch. It's a specific, type of mulch.
Yeah. It
Well,
can't.
for the floor bed, they donated.
No, I meant the
The playground.
The playground mulch we were getting up
Yeah.
at Dutch Way, where they have mulch up there for playground.
Yeah, cause as long as it's certified playground mulch, or
Right.
we could get in trouble for that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, bring us the details on like how much you're gonna get and when you want to do it. And the only thing that I think would be a reasonable thing would be maybe we try and dig that out first before we put the new stuff in and
Right.
replace the liner. But I'm not gonna, as long as you tell us what you're doing, I'm not gonna say no to you guys doing stuff to
We
make the
could
playground better.
probably use some of that plastic that's, in the, skating ring
Do we have enough of it?
for liner.
And some of that stuff is
You have
not
to-
ground
right,
contact
right.
related.
We have brand new.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
have
so
rolls of
landscaping
brand new
fabric
in there.
has to be permeable, so the
Yeah.
water goes through, because otherwise, if you're gonna put that down,
it turns
your
into.
mulch is gonna, just slide right off of it.
So number one, we got to talk about cleaning that area up now
Right.
that we can't, you know what I mean, skate no more, right? So now we
Right.
got to get that area cleaned up. Number two, as soon as I'm off my weight restriction, remember me and Peter said we would come up and help you guys load your stuff from the second floor. I have a 14 by 7 wide trailer, and we'll load that up and we'll move it all over to your shed there and your trailer, so we can get that usable stuff to you guys, so you guys can use it in the playground.
Yeah.
So I just need to wait till my weight restrictions off, so I don't get myself in trouble.
Yeah.
And we can do that and get you your
Well,
right,
let's relocate the shed before we put.
Well, I
more
think he's
stuff.
talking about the big trailer, not
the
the
big
shed.
trailer, yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause
but
you
we
got-
do need to move
We
the
do need
shed.
to do something with that trailer.
Yeah.
I mean,
The
shed
shed.
and the roof and
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, it's starting to get warm again, so
Yeah.
soon. But yeah, let us know details, but I don't personally have a problem with that. We just gotta make sure, like Carl was pointing out, that we're, dotting the Ts, crossing the Is on all that, with getting the right kind of mulch for the playground and making sure that we have like the weed barrier under it so that it's not just thistle coming up constantly. But yeah, I'm all for it.
Do you think we can like set up a date for like residents and everybody to like?
Like a cleanup day.
Yeah, spring cleanup day,
Yeah.
the
We
playground.
should have scheduled community work days for
Yeah.
that park. It would make it easier. Because then I can schedule it out and nothing will be planned. Usually everything's like, I get a call on a Friday, hey, are you available tomorrow to do this? I'm like,
Yeah.
Yep.
no, I'm not. If I would have known a month ago, yes, I can come out there and do it, right? If we planned it out.
Well, I
That
would
would
say
be-
before Thursday, let's collectively, us, community association, people in the communities, let's see if there's a good date, maybe in like late April or early May. That way we can give people enough notice to say, hey, we're gonna do a, community cleanup day. Everybody show up, the township will bring trash bags and, a couple other. We can put a note on the door, put it on the website,
Yeah.
et cetera.
Yep.
But then
Yeah.
if people show up, great. Otherwise, it'll be
Yeah.
the core group of
Yeah.
the same old 4 people that
Yeah.
show up all the time.
And not to backtrack too.
Yeah.
But we needed an end date for this list of the building committee so we can get the building committee involved and going.
We need to get everybody appointed to it.
Right.
Yeah.
So what is gonna be our deadline for signatures for that?
That's an item on here. that
Yeah,
we go
okay,
over.
I think that's an
Yeah.
item on here.
Okay, good.
Even though they're not numbered correctly, it's
Yeah,
still there.
yeah,
All right.
so yeah. Okay, I'm gonna kind of glance over item 5/6. We had already talked about the LSA statewide grants. Thank you again, Hydro Chair, for your help on that. The short and long-term ordinances, for the rental ordinances, we're working with Crafts on identifying the rental properties and getting letters out to them to notify of that change. The joint comprehensive plan, they're looking at preparing a cost estimate for what this will be for the 5 involved municipalities. There's been some correspondence with, is it David or Daniel?
It's David.
David
I
Hunter.
keep wanting to call him Daniel.
That's all right.
So they're going to be working on that cost estimate, and then there would be a memorandum of understanding that would have to be signed between each one of the municipalities that are involved. Road maintenance, Carl is going to be working on some more road stuff. There was some stuff done on Sheridan, which looks fantastic, by the way. And we're going to start doing pothole patching in the near future. Again, now that the weather has sort of changed. Had a sidebar with Carl this morning. What I'd like him to start doing so that we can categorically log it on the SharePoint is, before he does a patch or any other work, take a picture of it, do the work, take a picture of it, so that way we can log it with the date and the road
Yep,
name.
yep.
And because the pictures will have GPS coordinates on it, we can snap that directly into the GIS system when it's up and running.
This is
Yeah.
gonna change the game.
It is,
Yeah.
it is. So we'll have all of that before and after, and we'll be able to categorically catalog, in a catalog format, say like, okay, what have we done in the past 5 years to Carolyn Road or to Canal or whatever road? And we'll be able to just have it there. We won't have to rifle around for it or look
Yeah.
for it, or, oh, that didn't get taken pictures of, or this. No, it'll all be there, which will be great. So speaking of the GIS system, there's nothing new on the update for that, but we did approve getting that set up and kind of up and running at one of the prior meetings. So hopefully we'll have some good news from the engineer on phase 1 for that very soon. Sheridan Road South, the drainage improvements have been made. We're waiting a final walkthrough with any follow-up punch list items by March 31st. Once that happens, we would then be able to close out the project, but there is still a pending item for reinforcing that shoulder on the side where we had signed a change order, I think 2 months ago for that. They did already? Oh, that was that picture. Thank you. So the work was done on the 20th for that particular one. And I think they did a really nice job with it.
They did, and not that it would matter, but people already are driving into it and scattering stones all over the street.
Of course.
So
we
it's just like, unfortunately, the city of Reading, they put in a nice skate park and then they go in and vandalize it, right?
Yeah.
It sickens me that we do something for the community to get it done and try to do it correctly, and then they go out and try to.
Yeah, I think it might not be malicious. It might be accidental.
It may not be,
Yeah.
but
The road is so narrow.
It is,
Like,
and
I
armor
even have
equipment
a big
struggles, too.
vehicle, and it's like, I have a small vehicle and I still have to pull over onto one side.
Yeah.
some of the tracks were pretty obnoxious though.
Yeah.
Like they were in the grass and then back over the rock.
So we'll have to keep an eye on
So-
that and see if there's anything we can do to maybe help mitigate that or something. But
Yeah.
I think it's a narrow enough road that
The kids are out there tearing it up because just last night I came home and there was no burnout marks coming out of town. Now there's burnout marks coming out of town.
I heard this
So,
morning
it's-
somebody did a pretty substantial burnout on 422 there.
So Friday night, of course, there's been trying to raise cane. I guess.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, again.
Yeah, the weather gets warm, people start doing crazy stuff.
What's our road project for this year?
That is a good question, and that is something that I need to talk to Carl about, because Carl got the list together, but I haven't had a chance to review it yet.
I want to get with Troy on that again as well.
Yeah, that's actually
Bring us
an
here.
item down.
Understood. Yeah, and that is, I believe, one of the items on
Yep,
the
yep.
agenda. So the extension of the stormwater pipe along Marion Drive, they haven't had a chance to do the final on that because of the weather, but they'll be doing that soon. I think Ryan's on the meeting. Ryan, if I need to unmute you, I can. But they're going to be doing a relocation of the trench. But that's waiting on the paving season. Okay, next, Bollinger Road. We're going to be putting that back out to bid. They're currently working on the rebidding submission for that. And based on the possible litigation that we have around that, I'm not going to go into too much more detail around that. Future road projects, Carl has the list. We're going to be reviewing that and then talking to Troy about getting that prepped for going out for bid. Unfortunately, when we brought up Shady Cabin last month, it does not qualify for liquid fuels money. And the interesting thing on this is, from what I gathered from the PennDOT guy and from talking to Colin, Shady Cabin Circle doesn't actually exist.
Oh my God.
The road is there in name only. PennDOT is like, we don't have that as one of your roads. And I went and I did a little bit of sleuthing because I have a couple of parcels there. The road does not exist on any of the parcel descriptions. So we need to talk to Colin about the circle and the dog leg on what actually has to happen with that. Because I don't think it was ever actually dedicated if you go back like the, 30, 40, 50 years or whatever.
Well, it was a private lane at one
One,
time
we're going
because it
way
was
back.
a campground, I was
Yes,
told.
yeah, but you're going back to like the
Right, so
60s or 70s at
wouldn't
that point.
I wouldn't be surprised if they
Yeah.
just sold it off and then nothing ever happened.
Was now
Exactly.
Right.
dedicated.
So we need to figure out the nuances of that. But the reason that this came up is that dog leg, and this is why we were trying to go after dirt and low volume gravel road grants, is it really affects like 4 people. It's like me, my neighbor, my other neighbor, and my grandfather, and then like the mail guy. That's about it.
Well,
But
I drove it with my wife.
it's bad.
It's
So for anybody that hasn't gone down that road during the winter, and it's bad even during the summer too, but the road heaves. So the center of the road is, and this is not an exaggeration, I got a measuring tape out. It is 9 inches higher in the middle than it is on the bottom. So you basically have to get your car like on the side of the road and on
people's yards.
essentially, yeah. Otherwise you will bottom out an SUV on it.
I took the Mazda on it on purpose.
Yeah.
And it was just not good.
Yeah, yeah. Furthermore, the road is deteriorating, and beyond the like half-inch of asphalt that's on there, it's bricks. It's just, and it's
I
not
told
even.
you where I think those came from.
I know, but it's not even like nicely laid bricks. They just threw bricks in the ground and then
Filled
put
it.
asphalt over it. So I would like us to do something with it. I'm not sure what we need to do with it because I don't want to use a ton of money to do
gonna
it.
need to
But
probably be tore out.
we gotta cut out at least a small section there
It's gonna
because
be-
it's getting to the point where you can't
The
get
base
past
is
it.
bad.
Yeah,
The base
I don't
is
think
just
there
like you
is.
said, it's
There is a base.
right. It's just
There is no
old
base.
Filth. It's old filth, filled bricks.
So I'm gonna try to get some details together on the kind of the points of like where stuff is theoretically, and then make a list of suggestions on like, okay, we can do a little bit of a patch here, or we can do a 10-foot cutout here. And that might be something that, because it's such a low volume road, we don't have to pave it the same way that we would with like School Road or Sheridan, and we could pave it more like what you would do with a driveway potentially.
Can't you get it dedicated? Shouldn't we get it dedicated?
We
first?
should.
And then, then we
yeah.
can move forward with
Well,
that.
yeah.
Because once it's
Yeah.
dedicated,
I mean,
then we'll have a,
the reality of it is we know there's a paperwork error and we need to fix
Yeah.
the paperwork.
right, we got to get that dedication first,
Yeah.
and then we can come in there and fix it.
Yeah, but the other side of it is we've also maintained the road, so there might be a precedence situation. Well, we got to talk to Colin is the takeaway on this, but we have a road, the paved part of it at least, we have maintained for like 30, 40 years. So there might be arguments both way or the other, but we need to talk to
Unfortunately,
Colin.
when I drove that road,
Yeah.
I don't think it was maintained for 30.
Well, I mean,
years.
by that I mean like plowing and salting and things
Yeah.
like
Right,
that.
I get that, yeah, but,
We've effectively acknowledged it as a road, even though it wasn't officially done.
right.
So
Yeah.
we gotta figure out that. And the other takeaway that I want to do is I want Troy to talk to PennDOT and go through our roads end to end and make sure the roads that we think we have, PennDOT thinks we have,
Yeah.
so we don't have more of these.
Yes,
Right.
we have a lot of stuff in hard copy at the old building.
Yeah.
That we
Yeah.
may need to sift through and see if something wasn't properly filed, if the paperwork has been there.
Yeah.
Maybe mean just resubmitting the old paperwork, so.
Yeah. Now, Kelly, it's
Very
so you shaking your head. I called
Yeah.
and I talked to Colin because I was like, hey, what's your stance on this? And like I went through and I emailed him copies of like my parcels and stuff like that. And he was like, this road doesn't exist. I'm like, okay, cool. Glad we had that conversation.
And I'm sure it's probably not just us. I'm sure there's
Yeah,
many
there's-
townships that have this problem.
As we start to
Yeah.
like kick things up, we're gonna find the
Yeah,
occasional thing that's gonna come out of the dust or the cobwebs that get stirred up of like, oh, that wasn't filed right, or no, this wasn't dedicated,
Yeah.
or it's gonna happen. But once we find it,
Yeah.
we gotta fix it.
yeah,
Let's,
pretty interesting.
So anyway, next item on the agenda is the trash ordinance. So
It's the problem that we have is it's vague as to whether or
Yeah.
not businesses are required to recycle. And so we want to clarify that and include it because the tonnage that we get from all households as well as businesses affects our recycling grant.
Yep.
So the more we have, the more money we get back. So we want it clear on its face so
Yeah.
that we can receive more monies as part of the recycling grants.
yeah, and this grant is almost, or not this grant, excuse me,
The
the
ordinance.
ordinance is almost 20 years old, so it could probably use a little bit of a review anyway. But the takeaway on this is in section 1, it doesn't specifically call out businesses for recycling. So everybody is required trash collection, as we well know, but it doesn't actually specifically say you have to recycle if you're a business.
Yeah.
So we're going to look at that and see if there's an update or other updates that we need to make to this this particular ordinance. And Colin is actively aware of that and working on it.
Does Ms. Fair, report out the tonnage?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have to.
I was gonna say, because we had a problem previously with Eagle and Sue was always on top of that, where our tonnage fell significantly and Sue was like, nope, that's not true. And you need to go by it. And I think you had called the office a
Mhm.
couple of times. And so Eagle mixing up trash and recycling. So
Yeah,
it affects us financially, whatever monies we could get, we look for.
well, I called Mascaro
Yeah.
on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Because Tuesday was not recycling day,
Okay.
and they emptied both.
Yeah, I did mine too.
Yeah.
Yeah, weird.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, just as a favor, can we get the recycling tonnage reports? Can you give me the detail on that for like the Thursday night meeting?
Mhm.
That way I can go over it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's just keeping track of it
What
consistently.
is their comment when you called and said you took my recycling and it wasn't recycled?
Well, well, I was trying to be nice and I'm like, well, I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I'm like, but just so you know, we have to leave both cans out there. So it's not like we can, just put
Right.
trash out one day, 1 week and then both out.
Yeah.
I said, but they took both cans. And he goes, oh, no, they're in trouble. I'm like, okay, but that's what they're doing. And he goes, hold on. He goes, it's not recycling week. He goes,
They did it the last.
yeah, he goes,
Yeah, I think it
you're in
was, I
trouble.
think that happened like not this past week, but the week before that, because I had put recycling out just ahead of time, knowing that it wasn't recycling week, and it got taken. So I was like, oh, okay. But again, the takeaway for everybody, whether it's the dogs without leashes or whatever, or recycling, if you see something, say something, because we can't get it to the right person, or you can't get to the right person if you don't speak up.
But what I've been noticing, cardboard.
Yeah.
They're putting it in the trash, even if it's recycled.
If it's wet.
If it's wet or it's
Well, yeah, I
greasy,
realize it
yeah,
was greasy, but
yeah.
it's-
Yeah.
I put stuff out not too long ago, that is absolutely
Yeah.
good, and I put out in the morning that didn't get dew or anything on it.
Yeah.
The trash took it
Okay.
instead of recycle.
Well, when you see that, call it
Call it
in,
off.
and then
Yeah.
we'll just turn around and call Mascara right away and let
Yeah.
them know.
Yeah.
Because that really cuts into our
That
weight.
it does. It
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
does. Yes. And that if
Cardboard right now is $63 a ton.
yeah. Yeah, I know a lot of like any of the time we get the grant stuff, most of it is the cardboard money.
Right,
Yeah.
It's very little of it is glass and plastic.
yeah.
So again, if you see it happening, call it
Yeah,
in. and
nobody's
then-
calling me. I don't know about it. I
Yeah,
mean,
that way Lisa can call
Yeah.
Mascara
Yeah.
and let them know, and then
because I
likewise.
called right away for
Very
ours
careful.
and,
Yeah.
I could have been like telling him it's happening here, and,
yeah, and if they
could
don't
have been
know,
on it.
they might just have a driver who's not, doing what he's supposed to do, and they can't take the necessary corrective actions either if they don't know. So it's got to be a chain reaction of speaking up. So if you see it, say something.
Peter,
Yes.
am I understanding correctly that you folks receive a check back
We get-
for your recycling?
No, it's a grant.
It's a grant.
It's a fund, it's money,
Correct.
Correct.
grant, or money, whatever you
Yeah.
wanna call it.
Yeah.
The township receives a check back for that.
Yes.
Very interesting.
But this is something that we've always
Yeah.
done. I don't want to say, it's not quite mandatory, but certainly it's beneficial for us.
Yeah,
I'd
I
have to
think-
look at the parameters of the
It's-
grant.
Hey. we
Yeah.
don't get a
mandatory
tax.
Yeah.
From the
to
county. right?
the county. I
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
do it to the county.
Yeah.
Let me see what that amount was for last year.
We didn't get one for this
We
year.
didn't get it for
It's
last
a
year?
clerical error
Yeah.
on their part, because we
Yeah.
were reviewing all the numbers during municipal statistics. And I
Yeah.
was like, you'd have to look at 23.
For
I mean, I should have the
town,
budget amount though
not
for that.
Marion Township.
What was that?
So we have to, the mandatory participation. is received
It's
from the county.
mandatory that every year, beginning of the year, I have to report everything to the county.
Okay.
So that's mandatory.
Okay,
And then the county sends it to the state.
okay,
So everything gets reported to the state. And then in June, we can send everything in to apply for a recycling grant.
for a grid fund.
I can
Yeah.
pull it up on my computer.
Basically, it's
It's
a
a
Right.
really small amount.
Right, I
just can't remember
guess,
what the
yeah.
amount Was.
I'd have to pull it up. I
The
can
one
pull
that
it
was
up.
submitted, it's a year behind, so I just did 2024 last week,
You
a
can-
couple
you
weeks
can
ago.
just Tell them after the
Sure.
meeting.
I'm just kinda
Thursday
curious.
evening, I gave Peter a business card for a new company that's coming in the area.
Okay.
Some people are familiar with it. It's Goods down on 272
Oh,
in Ephrata.
They're great.
They bought a company up here and they are going to start to pick up trash and recycling up as far as Bethel. So that's quite a distance of travel, but that may be a company that you want to reach out to.
I have the card over there. Yeah.
The biggest thing is getting them to getting them to bid.
When
We're
you're
under contract for the next like
I-
year and 3/4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't solicit.
We can't solicit, so we can maybe make a call and let people know that, hey, this is gonna go out to bid.
Yeah.
But that's as far as we can go legally.
Yeah.
Well,
we have
Yeah.
to do the same thing. We have to submit for 3 bids
yeah.
for trash and recycling, and
Grants.
of course, property management.
Yeah, so Dan, Irene's gonna check the thing, but for 2024, like the 2024 budget for 2023's fiscal year, we got, I think it was a $15,000 turn back.
One, that was a special program that we had.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
The
We'll get
report
to the
that
number, but
was-
it's not a huge sum of money.
No.
Yeah.
the report from last year that was submitted for, even though it was not on 2024, it was for 2023.
Yeah.
That is still in process of them working on all those grants.
Yeah.
I asked the county and
Stonecroft Village's budget is over $64,000 for trash and recycling, and we don't get a penny back.
So I
We
mean,
get
nobody
nothing.
gets a penny back. Like the municipality gets this. This isn't being
Right.
distributed out to like homeowners.
Well,
Yeah,
but-
this goes back into the general fund.
yeah.
Yeah.
But again, being a private community.
Yeah.
Private pickup,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I need to think about going after my trash and recycling company
Yeah.
and.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point, because
Say-
they're probably getting either proceeds or grants. They might not be getting grants because of being a private entity, but they are certainly selling your recycling.
Yes,
and
they
that-
are.
And that,
JP Mascaro.
well,
Oh,
no, everybody. That's,
yeah.
I mean, that's what they do with it after
Yeah.
they collect it, is they
Yeah.
recycle it and
Yeah,
sell it.
right.
So that's either built into your cost already. They're assuming that they're going to be able to sell a certain amount of it to keep the cost of your recycling collection down, or they're billing you and they're pocketing it. So that's up to you to try to figure out which one is which. But yeah, there are grants for certain entities like municipalities for recycling.
Okay.
I'll give Irene a second since she's still looking that up.
Well, so one grant that we applied for, that was 22,000. In previous years, it's been about 4,200.
Yeah.
The 2023 shows me 17,000. So it can really go up, it can really go down.
Yeah.
So
On average, though, if I recall, it's about 4,000 or 5,000, but we
Yeah.
did have a couple of years where we were able to go after extra stuff.
Yeah.
And we got like 17 the one year and then like 22 the next.
Yeah.
So.
I like to think it's because of John. You should see the cardboard at my house, but
Okay. So going back to the original point, the trash ordinance, we're going to be looking at that with Colin's input on doing an update for that particular thing to make sure that it's holistic and covers everybody on the recycling aspect. The saldo is also similarly being looked at. Engineer Spade is working on this in conjunction with Colin, and we should have a review on that. The big things that we needed to update specifically were the roadway specs, excuse me, and the 5-year roadway moratorium. But it's old enough that we wanted to go through it and make sure everything was good too. Blue Spruce, the contractor is installing drainage facilities. They started that on the 13th of March. So once that is done, the engineer will do inspections and then give us kind of the next step on that. But they are actively working on that now. 85 Main Street for Twilight Acres, there's nothing new on that. They're still, going through the plans conditioned upon satisfying the engineer's comments. And there's nothing further in terms of the utilities at this time. Alden on 6th, again, nothing new on this project. It's very, very early on in the process. But this would be that development, proposed development for the 61 single-family dwellings that crosses, I believe, 2, if not 3 townships.
I have a question on that.
Yes, I may or may not have an answer, Dan.
I was approached Thursday evening and there was some discussion about the sewer system.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about it? What's being planned or what's being talked about?
The discussion point is they would have a sewer system for that development that would tie into Wolmelstorf's interceptor. Like it would not go through like Stonecroft or anything else. There's I think it's a 20-inch interceptor up at the top there, and they would put right into that. Wolmelsdorf has already assured them that they have the capacity to do so. The only real paperwork aspect of that would be because of it crossing a couple of different townships, having the memorandums of understanding between the municipalities, that it would be Marion, that they would come in as bulk customers to Marion, and then it would be paid for kind of that way rather than individually. Similar fashion to eventually like when the sewer stuff goes in for the rest of the Stouchburg Marion Township project, they would come in as bulk customers. It wouldn't be individual homeowners paying Wolmelsdorf. It would be individual people paying the township, and then the township paying Wolmelsdorf. If I recollect correctly on that, the same thing would happen with Stonecroft, that you guys would come in as bulk customers through us rather than being like individually. Like I think right now everybody pays WSA.
Yes.
That you would come in through us and you would actually potentially get a lower rate because you're coming in with the rest of all the other crap from Marion Township. So
Did you say crap?
I did say crap.
That's true.
It's true. It's true. It's literal and figurative.
There seems to be some concern about the condition.
Yeah.
Of the sewer line.
Okay. Well, that would be something that Wolmelsdorf would have to address as part of like that project. But
I'm
from
gonna have to deduct.
from when we had talked to them, geez, this is probably 2 years ago now. It was the developer, Wolmelsdorf, Marion, and the other municipalities that the property actually sits on. We met at the Wolmelsdorf Sewer Authority building and went through this, and they said like, yeah, there's if you look at it on the map, there's this pipe here. It's got plenty of capacity that you could connect right to it and it wouldn't be an issue. So whether that's in good condition or not, I can't say, but that would be something that
They
maybe,
just recently scoped it.
yeah, if they find, I'm sure if they find something that needs to be repaired when they start actually breaking ground for that, then they'll have to go through the process of repairing it. But that we're still many years off from that. Like they're not even sure exactly what's going where yet in terms of a plan, let alone starting to request anything.
I'll talk to Doug.
Yeah, honestly, Doug might know, or he might be able to tell you a little bit more of what the current influx sort of discussion is. Yeah. So,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, on that issue.
yes.
Have they submitted a planning module?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
No, like I said, this is really in its infancy. Like nothing has been submitted yet other than the intent to put a development there. Okay, equipment repair, nothing new at this time. We got the truck welded yet? Yes or no?
No,
Okay.
the welder hurt his knee.
Oh, okay. So, the good news is we're hopefully, knock on whatever possible wood this is, we're out of the snow season, so you shouldn't have to use that. Or if it does flurry or anything like that, you've got the little truck and the tractor and everything. But we'll just have to keep that on the agenda to make sure that we get that patched, and keep a close eye on it to make sure that it doesn't split further after we get it welded.
Yeah.
And then I think do we have a separate one for that? If not, okay. Carl had submitted a list of tools that he would like to get.
On here?
Yeah.
Oh, it's on the, okay.
Yeah.
I missed it. So it's on 26.
Yes.
I'll save that for a second. So in terms of equipment repair, other than the truck, we don't have anything additional.
Carl, thank you
Yeah.
so much for
Well,
doing all the work
being
that
awesome.
you can do and
well, that's what I'm here for.
finding out all the problems that we've had and
You're the
getting
man.
things on routine maintenance.
Township property, we are still working on getting barcodes and stuff put onto the township property and getting a proper database of everything that the property wise that the township has in place. That's going to be an ongoing effort over the next couple of months. Trash dumping. Carl picked up a bunch of tires, and I think you're going to get that on Monday. But the mattress that you talked about took a little bit to find it, but
Do you think the man just fell off of a vehicle? You know?
maybe.
Well, the Wilmersdorf crew picked one up last week on 422 in Wilmersdorf too.
They're getting clever. They're not doing it right on the side. They're throwing it over the banks now, because if you're on 422 and you look at where they were dumping
Yeah.
originally, now they're dumping it down that guy's bank. So
Same property.
Yeah.
yeah, same property, just down the bank now.
Yeah.
So So we don't notice it as easy. which
Yeah.
We've noticed it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So, I need to get, and I'll try to have this for Thursday night, the, proposal for the trail cams
Mhm.
and the security for said trail cams so people don't break them or destroy them or steal them. But we should try to put that up. The difficulty that I see is if they're dumping it from 422, we're not gonna be able to
Right.
see them.
So the gentleman that owns that strip.
Yeah.
Is the guy that owns that chicken farm over here.
Okay.
As long as we talk to him, he's
Yeah.
a nice guy. I'm sure he will allow
Oh,
us to put.
we
the
would
camera.
have to
absolutely,
have
yeah,
a
we would,
agreement.
yeah, we would
We would have to-
absolutely
yeah.
talk to him and have something
Yeah.
written saying
Right.
like, well, I'm okay with this.
But it's also a biohazard area, so
Yeah.
if you call first and you have to spray your car off because of the bird flu and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
It's a thing with poultry.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just like
No,
our
we'll,
engineer found out.
we'll take the necessary precautions on that, but we gotta
Yeah.
figure out, especially with them changing where they're dumping stuff, we have to figure out where we can put stuff to be able to actually see people. Cause if they're either, doing it on 422 or God forbid, they're doing it at high speed on 422. Yeah, I'm just picturing a mattress tied to a roof and somebody just pulls the rope and it just right off.
Yeah.
But, we might have to be clever about where we're putting this to be able to actually get photographic evidence.
Ask Larry, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Larry
that's
loves
a good
it.
point.
Mhm.
Larry loves a good challenge, especially when it's something like that.
Yeah.
So I'll work on that. I'll try to have that for Thursday night. The equipment for the road crew, Carl has given us a short list of things that he needs rated from highest priority to lowest priority. The first thing is he needs a new socket set because we're apparently missing a whole bunch of things, and generally what's there is not in great condition either. He has requested a 308 piece socket set from Ace Hardware. It's a Craftsman. It's $260. I don't think we're going to get necessarily a better price on that unless we go and just buy like Harbor Freight stuff. So I'm inclined to approve that one.
Yeah.
He's also requested a cordless grease gun, a cordless tool set that would include a hammer drill, driver, sawzall, circular saw, flashlight, 2 batteries and a charger. Both of those things were Makita, as well as a 1/2 inch high torque impact wrench that was Makita.
Right. And the only reason we're asking that they were thinking about Makita
Is
we
we
have
have batteries and stuff, and that's I
So, and that's
completely
part of the
I completely agree.
expense. If we got it, may as well go.
I completely
Yeah.
agree with the thinking on that. The only suggestion I had to Carl was have him talk to John and see if he was able to get us in contact, because these are just sourced off of Amazon.
Amazon is less expensive.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
So in that case, that was my only thought was like, maybe we can beat the Amazon price, but if
No,
we can't.
because the people that we use for the grant are out of New Hampshire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the last thing was an additional 135 piece socket and wrench set at Ace Hardware for $150. So
Yeah.
all told, we're looking at about a little over between $1,000 and $2,000
Yeah.
worth of stuff. And we have, I believe, 5 in the budget for
Oh, maybe.
tooling.
I know.
Yeah,
I mean,
just-
So
Maybe.
He needs tools to
it
be able
is.
to.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
gonna get carpal tunnel if he starts
Yeah.
not using an electronic grease gun.
Yeah.
Like on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, just as an aside, like more of like a housekeeping thing. At some point, the township did have an Amazon account. We're trying to recover that account and make sure it has because right now we're not using the tax exempt status. We're gonna try to recover the account and figure out, how, it's probably just a matter of changing the password.
Yeah.
And, so we have the tax exempt status. So when we order stuff, it goes through and we don't have a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but all told, this is all stuff that should be in the shop, and if we don't
Yeah.
have it, we need
Oh,
to get
yeah.
it. So,
mhm.
There's a couple more items on
Are there?
this here. Yeah, the cold patch.
oh yeah,
Yeah, cold patch, that's already done,
Yeah.
taken care of. That's a road maintenance issues.
He's gonna have to actually get more, he
Yeah.
said.
Two
Yeah.
other things. What about these signs again?
Oh,
We gotta
yeah.
figure out a nicer spot to put them because people just will hit them again.
Yeah, I was gonna say, people just
They
keep
have
hitting them.
no respect.
Yeah.
Well, not even that. If you
Yeah.
put it in the middle of a square and then you go to make that turn with a trailer.
Right,
you hit it.
right.
So
I think it should be on the opposite side.
They
I
should
was
be,
gonna say,
they should
so
be
you can make
before and
right
after
turns
the
and-
crosswalk.
I had actually moved them so they were like 5 feet before the crosswalk at one point, like many, many months ago, and people still just kept hitting them.
I
Yeah.
promise you, the thing is pretty much in front of my house all
Yeah.
year round. I've moved it a million times.
Mm-hmm.
So it's,
You know, are there different options? And,
There
and
are.
I know we had talked about painting that crosswalk in a different manner so that it's more visible, because I didn't even know where the crosswalk was painted after it was painted. It was not clear to me. So Beverly, you had a question?
Yeah, I have a question with the signs. I saw in some of the other smaller towns, they have a thing like a stop sign.
Yep.
To hold up a big a fluorescent picture of crossing for people. Would that be an option instead in the,
You mean on like the side?
yeah,
I mean, we can put up crosswalk signs.
Crosswalks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have
You
to
put 'em
explore
first.
some different options. Yeah,
And then are we gonna talk about shutting down the road on the other side of town?
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say, let's belabor that a little bit, because I think that's gonna be a, that's gonna be a hotly contested item.
yeah.
But before we went too far on that, I did want to bring up, Carl needs, 5 more 35-mile-per-hour speed signs.
If you guys wanna pass that or?
So
See what the community
even if
thinks
we're not
about
gonna order the pedestrian crossing ones, I'd like to authorize Carl to get the 5, speed signs that he needs. So,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to authorize Carl to purchase the, 5 24-inch by 30-inch, 35-mile-per-hour speed signs from Mainstream Industries for a total of $300.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Peter, second by Irene. Roll call, Peter?
Aye.
Irene?
Aye.
Jesse?
Okay, so Carl,
Yeah.
go ahead and pick those up.
And
And then,
if you could get back to us on some other ideas, what you think would be useful for those crosswalk areas and
Kelly.
pedestrian crossing. I still think,
Painting them
yeah, we're gonna,
is the biggest one.
I
yeah,
think we should do some funky 3D painting so people think they're falling into the ground and put the brakes. That's just my opinion.
Like we get the signs now.
I'm a sigh.
yeah, Mainstream Industries. That's where
And
we're
then
really buying the signs from.
They said it was okay to get the tools too now.
183.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
So you just authorized the signs.
Just the signs.
Any of the tools right now, or are you gonna
So
do
I
that
was
Thursday?
actually, I was gonna ask, do we want to do that Thursday, or because 3 of these are on Amazon and we still have the whole sales tax situation,
Yeah,
do we
but
want to wait a day or
We'll
two?
get that,
until we-
that's a clerical thing.
Yeah.
So we'll get that, we'll try to take care of that today or tomorrow.
It
Okay.
is miserable for a person that's in maintenance to not have the tools to do the
Oh,
job.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's
So-
absolutely miserable.
So my question to Carl
So
was,
please.
will it be okay if we do this on Thursday night? That way we can get the sales tax thing straightened out, hopefully between now and then, and then
Whenever,
we
doesn't
can
matter.
turn you loose.
No matter
Okay.
where he purchases, as long as we put that tax form on file, they'll.
Well, that's the
Yeah.
thing. We gotta
Right,
make
it's
sure we
not
got
on-
it, it's not
yeah.
on file with
Yeah.
Amazon, right?
All we need to do is print it out and put.
I think
upload it as a
the
PDF.
main
yeah.
one, though, he wants to get is at Ace
Ace
Hardware.
Hardware. Yeah, go, so, okay, let's do this in
So
in
he
2
can
pieces
actually go
then.
up and get that
That's a
one,
good,
right?
that's a good point. So I will make a
Do
motion.
it all Thursday. It's not that big of a deal.
I mean, if I authorize, it, you can pick it up like Monday or Tuesday though.
Okay.
I mean,
We'll pick it up.
so, yeah, or today if you really want to, but I'm gonna make a motion to authorize Carl to purchase the 308-piece socket set and the 135-piece socket and wrench set from Ace Hardware for a total of $410.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Motion made by Peter, second by Jesse. Roll call, Peter?
Aye.
Irene?
Aye.
Jesse?
Okay,
You
Carl,
might want to get a
yeah.
breaker bar too, Carl, eventually. Just so you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
when you need to use a little more than gentle persuasion.
Yeah, yeah, so Carl, like as far as the items that you're finding in the garage, the condition of items, what do you got? Is it bad, good, ugly?
It's not terrible.
Yeah.
You know,
There's some stuff that I'm sure is
now
probably
that
better.
we actually have a toolbox to organize stuff in, there's a lot more there than I thought was there as a
Yeah.
fun stuff, you know, so.
Yeah, it's just amazing what you've done in that garage.
Like wrenches, there was all kinds of wrenches, but like 10 sockets
Yeah.
and 3 broken ratchets.
Well, I guess, with whoever has drifted in and out of the road crew positions, not everyone has the same capabilities. And
Yeah.
so some things, a lot of things were done in-house, I would assume at one point, and then a lot of things had to be done out-of-house, and everyone just had their different skill set, so I think.
Our road crew was blowing out fires and doing what they had to be done.
Yeah.
There was no regular maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're trying to get,
Well,
and this is,
we want to get,
Well,
Yeah.
that's
Out of
what
this,
fires
yeah.
is.
we're still
Yeah.
putting the fires out right now.
yeah,
Yeah.
but there's less fires, and that's,
This is the position we needed years ago.
Oh my
Yeah.
God,
And
yeah.
agreed,
Yeah.
agreed. And that's been, I can say from my standpoint,
Yeah.
Irene's and Jesse has the same view on this, is we want to take anything that has been done historically, make sure that it's done right, make sure that it is documented, and make sure that it is routine and repeatable. This shouldn't be anything, whether it's the audits or road maintenance or anything else, should not be dependent on me sitting here
Yep.
or Irene sitting here.
And that's
The-
what it was. The
yeah.
history was your supervisors did your road work.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
When they had
Yeah.
time.
and
But
with
you-
everything
but
else,
you
it
still-
should be.
It's, I think it's all because of our job experiences too. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter who's in the position. This is what the job is.
Yeah.
And that's why you see there's books and files and
Yep.
Carl has books and files, and that's the way it should have always had been, and maintaining records and keeping things standardized so that, yes, you bring your personality, you bring your opinions, you bring your energy to the job, but the
show
job is the
just
job.
goes on.
Right. The job is the job. So, and that's what we've all been focusing on,
Yes,
sitting in these seats. So,
Does it say state road or a town?
this is township, and that's a proposal. We haven't even talked about it.
Understand.
Yeah, it's township.
Wanted to clarify.
yeah.
Yeah.
State.
No, that's ours. So one of the
Okay.
things that the engineer proposed to us that we are going to discuss, and I'll kind of, I guess, segue into this one, is with the amount of speeding that happens off of 422, he made the suggestion of between where 422 is and Long's Church Lane, closing that off so that you can't egress directly off of the highway onto Main Street.
Well, you get a good down.
Just jump. That would be a huge change in everybody's, I think, behavior and accessibility on that. So like, I'm not sure it would certainly achieve the end result. I'm just not sure if it would create other problems by doing that too.
It's gonna piss a lot.
It's going to piss a lot of
I
people off.
honestly don't think it will
Yeah.
change the end result
I don't
because,
think
Now
either.
you have a short
Because-
section people can go.
well, what's going on is people are flying down that section.
Yeah.
They are,
Yeah.
Okay, but when they have to come to that crest of that hill because of our nice potholes there, they
Yeah.
have to slow down. And then they slow down and then they floor it again, and then
Yeah.
they hit their 80 mph between those speed. That's why I was suggesting to Carl,
Well,
about putting that trailer. We have another trailer for
Yeah.
this. We need one in the middle of town too,
Well-
to record that data. Because I'm seeing people go by my house at 85
Well,
mph
just
between
so-
those two sections.
well, just so that you understand, he's talking about getting rid of that entirely. So the
I know.
only way that you would be able to get off of 422 would be on like Marion Drive
Right.
or one of the other like feeder roads.
Right, and how would that substation feel about closing that off in the event of an emergency?
They can still access it.
They're closing that off to Long's Lane or Richland Road.
Long's Church Road or Long's Church Lane. It's the first, the
Right.
closest
But you
one.
can still get off of four
You
twenty-two.
have that
Because
intersection
of
there.
that,
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, thank you. I was picturing that completely wrong
I
in my
think
head.
safety wise on 422, I would
Yeah.
not do that. I
Yeah.
would not do
Yeah, and now that you mentioned that there is that little feeder there with the little, like the T intersection. I don't think that that's going to change that much because Jesse's right. You get off the highway and there's a lot of people that just punch it.
Mhm.
So,
they do it,
Yeah.
and
I appreciate his thought.
yeah, it's, we're
Yeah.
open. There's no
Yeah.
bad
And-
ideas
and
in a
this was-
brainstorming
yeah, I
session.
just wanted to see what the people thought of that.
Yeah.
'Cause I was kind of skeptical on that myself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, the only way that you'd really be able to stamp that out would be if you prevented people from getting off of 422 down that long stretch.
Yeah.
Which I honestly don't think we want to do for safety reasons. We want to be able to get ambulances and fire trucks
Yeah.
and stuff in and out of there quickly. So we'll talk to Troy about it on Thursday night, but it's an idea.
Right,
For
it's an
sure.
idea.
But it may not move past the idea
May not
phase.
necessarily be a good.
Exactly. Not all ideas are good ideas, but
You get a
Well,
Myers
what I'm
Town
saying is so we have
ambulance
a
that
speed one
needs
at
to
this end,
get
and a speed one at this
into
end,
exactly.
one that's not in use.
or a fire
On a
truck.
trailer.
Yep.
Because
You don't want them to have
software
to take a
knows
long
about
detour.
that.
100% with
We
you,
need to
Dan.
get the software for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the,
What was
the,
that?
old- the old speed sign wasn't new software.
There's one-
Yeah, we just have to get the software loaded up and then
Okay.
we need to make sure that we can find it's a USB to serial adapter. It's a special cable because it's an
Okay.
older interface on the sign.
Because there is,
Josh has
Yeah.
everything.
I
we
mean, I'm
have
sure I
data,
have
we
one
have
somewhere
data
too.
coming in this end of town and data coming in this end of town, but nothing in the center.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right? And I want to be able to prove that, hey, between this one, and this one,
Yeah.
he might have been doing 80
So-
here, but then he was doing 40, but now he's doing 80 again.
You
and
don't
that's-
even have anything at your east end of town. You have it at Canal
There's
Road.
two.
That's not
There's-
where your town is.
Yeah.
Your town is up at Doug Hoover's house.
So the reason,
Well, they,
I understand your.
I was gonna say, I-
Talk to the property owner. Nobody would have argued and said, don't put it there.
Yeah.
it does, it should be down further.
yeah, I mean, we can move it.
Yeah.
We should move it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any problem with moving it. It's
We
just,
should have one in the dead center of town, coming into town and coming out of town. To collect all that data.
I
We
mean,
only have two, right? Or
we
just
only
one?
have two and then we have a mobile one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
mobile
So-
one.
And the mobile one is not in use
All
right now.
kidding aside here, like if Doug is okay with that, yeah, they're not the cheapest of things, but the more data that you have, I think in this instance, the better. might not be a bad idea to put a third one down at the start of town.
Yeah.
You have the one at Canal, you have the mobile one that we can move around in the center of town for various things, and then you have the one that's coming off of 422. Well,
I think that'd be a good idea, but what are
yeah.
you doing with your data?
So we
You can
have,
get all the data you want. What are you gonna do with
so
it?
what we've gotten off the 2 fixed speed signs already has helped the engineer understand what the speeding dynamic is, and it's bad. It's not good. The data
81 to
supports.
40 miles an hour, where 35 to 40 through town is average.
Yeah, I think the highest speed that thing clocked was about
Once.
not, was it 120?
No, well, Larry's
I
pulled
was
people.
gonna say,
yeah,
I thought that
120.
was 422. I think
yeah.
Main Street was
It
95.
was 90 something.
Yeah.
It was 90 something.
So we know it's happening. We know it's bad.
It's insane.
The
They're doing
only,
it just to-
Carl is
Yeah.
the only one who's been
Yeah.
looking it up.
So
He started
we-
looking it up for us.
So here's a silly question, right? And this is kind of something that doesn't need to be there, right? But we could technically do it, maybe, I don't know what people's feelings about it. What if you put a stop sign at these four
we
ways?
tried.
We tried, we
tried.
did the
Yeah,
study
so-
2 years ago.
Yeah.
We can't.
I had a resident on Main Street tell me, now, if they have time to do
Yeah.
this. They watched the sign at Canal Road for an hour and a half one evening. There was only one car that, he said, I couldn't see the speed from where I was, but I could see it flashing that they were to slow down. He
Okay,
said there was only one car that went by
how long was the sign there?
that didn't.
Oh, no, this was the fixed sign. This is one that's been there for a couple of days, or a couple of weeks.
The stop
Geez,
sign,
couple years.
when they
No.
tried it.
No. The
So they didn't-
speed sign.
They didn't try a stop sign.
No.
No.
So,
You can't put a
okay,
stop
so
sign there, right?
time out.
You can't.
So
No.
we did a study 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And unfortunately for the PennDOT requirements, we don't meet all of the rules for putting stop signs in. Cause like I grew up in the city, there's stop signs on like every corner.
Everything.
But unfortunately, the only one that would have worked for it, I believe, was Water Street.
Okay.
And the only way that they would have been permissible to put a stop sign, like a always stop there, was if we had 120 feet in each direction with no parking. So it was either we put a stop sign in and we remove all of the parking in like every direction, or we don't put a stop sign in. Now, all the other
Yeah.
ones didn't meet the requirements. I think you have to meet 7 out of the 11 requirements to be able to put a stop sign in for PennDOT. And we didn't hit most of the boxes on that. Like the only one that we really won on was Water Street, and it was line of sight.
Mhm.
So
And we couldn't do a traffic circle either. We probably don't have the.
we don't have the room for a traffic circle.
Mm.
It's a big wide boulevard, but you need a lot of space for a traffic circle.
Yeah, so it takes up a lot of real estate.
And it seems like every engineer that we have gives us a different suggestion.
Mhm.
And so,
Everybody approaches it a
yeah,
little
yeah.
differently.
So now we're up to Troy.
Yeah.
And Troy's gonna take a look at our problems and give us some newer recommendations, but we've had some
I
good
appreciate that.
suggestions.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
It's just a different perspective. And, so, why not? We'll take the suggestion. We'll go from there.
Yeah. So we got to keep trying.
Yeah.
Like,
Do we have the portable working again?
I think it was, the last time the reason that it didn't work when I looked at it a couple of years ago was the batteries were shot on it.
Well, those were new batteries when Roy was in,
But-
because we went to DECA. You
Yeah.
have to special order those batteries.
I know, but I tested the batteries and they were no good anymore. So the actual sign itself seemed to be in good working order. I could get like power through everything. None
Right.
of the fuses were blown or anything like that. It's just the batteries were cooked. We tried charging the batteries for a couple of days with the solar panels out and just nothing.
I have
So-
connections with batteries and stuff.
Okay.
If you want me to take them out, I'll get.
Yeah. So Carl, could you pull the batteries out of the speed sign?
Yeah, I want to test them. I didn't
Yeah.
plug it in yet. I
Yeah.
got all the information, all of it. I have emails out to them to find out how to get the info off of it.
Yeah.
But I'm just not
Yeah.
all the way there yet.
Yeah, we should be able to, there's a piece of software and then you need to have, it's a USB to serial
Mhm.
plug to be able to
Yeah.
get it. But yeah, we'll pull the batteries out and,
DECA's the only one that has them, and you have to special order those.
okay,
And then when you go for them, you have to pick them up down at the warehouse
okay,
in Fleetwood.
okay.
Because when we went for them, I went with Roy,
Mm,
and we went all over the place and here and there, and then finally they were down at Fleetwood at
Okay.
where they have the tractor trailers.
I got
going out.
I gotcha. But all told, I think it would be a good idea to get that running so that we can get more midpoint data.
I can get us the batteries if it's approved.
Yeah, let's
That's what
get the details on what batteries, like
Yeah.
what they are and what we need, and then yeah.
Yeah, and Carl, if it's like a cable or something like that, just give me a call, because we got a bunch of stuff. I could, probably help you out with that.
Okay.
Or at least send the teenage son that knows all.
If you have a problem.
It was more the software because
I can-
they don't have that sign on their website anymore. It's archived.
Yeah,
And I tried to access the archive and you need a password to access archive stuff. So I just sent them an email.
gotcha. Yeah,
which-
I
which
think
They
it's,
didn't get back yet.
it's some generic thing, like it's just like speed sign.
Mhm.
So, okay, if you run aground of that, let me know. I'll see what I can
Okay.
dig up, but yeah.
And Carl, if you ever need, just call me. I have a load tester and stuff for batteries too, so.
So do I.
Okay.
Just as a side note, while I'm thinking of it, it's not on the agenda, so we won't like vote on it or anything like that. But do we want to get a laptop for Carl for when he's in the garage? That way he can log stuff in like as he's working.
Yeah, and he
I
can.
thought we did talk about
We,
that.
I mean, we
he can
talked
take data
very
off,
loosely
and he
about
can
it.
take the
Yes.
data off the signs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can we put that on for the?
Thursday night.
Yep, please.
Reach out to Solve IT and see if they can give us a quote for another one of the
Yeah.
ThinkPads.
They're a
Okay.
valuable tool.
Okay. Meetings, or actually, excuse me, zoning hearing board. So David Stobby had resigned, so Beverly has shown interests. So Beverly, before we actually close out the meeting, we'll go through all of the agenda items. That way other people don't have to hang around, but we'll talk to you and do a little bit of interviewing with that. And then we'll see if we can maybe set up some time individually to talk to Doug Hoover. The meetings, this is the first month that we are on Teams. We were doing a simultaneous broadcast on Zoom and Teams. Zoom had a PowerPoint slide up that said, like, please join us on Teams. The URL's on the website. So we are officially moved over to Teams. Ryan Allgaier, just for the record, is the only person on the Teams meeting. But so far, so good. And we'll continue to move forward using that. We'll do a couple of months where we have Zoom, kind of like I said, like simulcast, if you will. And then we'll just drop off of Zoom and go to Teams fully. Office hours. The new office hours are Monday through Thursday, 8 to 4 p.m. So we're going to be open more every day of the week other than Friday. Friday will be closed essentially, which will give Lisa a chance to go through and do minutes and any other paperwork without being interrupted by people walking in or doing phone calls or anything like that. Snow emergency. This is something that we're going to work out. Or one of us needs to talk to the church, what is the sound place now, but used to be the church, about using the lot. And then we got to talk to Colin about the legal requirements and any paperwork that accompanies that. But suitable places for people to park when we do declare snow emergencies. Street sweeping. Street sweeping will be on May 7th with a rain date of May 8th. Record keeping, we are going through the process of making sure that we're only keeping the old records that we need. We are working on getting data retention periods outlined and associated to documents so that we are able to keep things cataloged
So-
up to date.
Like, again, to go with what we started talking about a little bit earlier, things just haven't been kept up to speed with a lot of aspects now. I can honestly say, since I've been on the board, sometimes I feel like I'm treading water. A lot of times I feel like I'm just about ready to drown, and then someone throws me a life preserver. So, unfortunately, moving out of the old building, or maybe fortunately, has really opened up our eyes to all the records that we have to maintain. So I did reach out to Dan. I feel like I could provide you with a copy of the records management. You have an extra copy, right? So that, because mine's all stickered
Noted.
up. Dan said he may want to help us with that.
No, he said he would.
Okay, there. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan. So there's a lot of data that we are required to keep under law. And as Lisa and I have been discussing it extensively, we're going to try to come up with like a color coding system and clear details. So I've marked up like my the financials, how long the data needs to be held onto, and coming up with a color coding system. So when things can be destroyed, it's just on a cycle. So we have, say an annual, because we could pass a resolution giving us the power to destroy things at certain intervals without having to have a new resolution every time we do that. So we're gonna try to come up with a detailed system, keeping things on like a spreadsheet on the computer, as well as a physical system so that we know what we're doing when we have to do it. But it's essential just as much as the
Physical
the
inventory.
physical, but also, if you read through the records management recommendations, because of the historical value of some of these documents, that's why the state wants us to preserve them. It's not just, hey, this is an important piece of paper, but there's a historical value, and that's why the records management system in part was created. So hopefully with Dan's help, we'll be able to start the process. Lisa and I estimate it's gonna be a 2 to 3 year project because of the volume of materials. The other
There's a
part of
lot.
it too
There's a lot.
is, I don't think we actually have the physical space here unless we're starting to occupy some of the sidewalls and behind us. So how some of our data is stored is tenuous. We need to really have a better system for our maps. We need to come up maybe with something creative. We may need to have outside storage. That's something that we talked before, but I think what's important is knowing what we have and how much we have, and then we'll be able to assess what to do with it, because all of our materials are paper, and obviously it's been eroded away by humidity and moisture and heat and dryness. So, and I'm not even talking about the historical stuff. I'm just like the
Just
maps
everything.
and all the papers. So, and as well as the problem that we've had in the past, people categorize it the way they wanted to categorize it. So we have things by property owner. Well, people die, people sell their property. We need to have it either by parcel number or some other identifier that's not necessarily so unique to us, so that anyone can pick up where we left off. So
Yeah.
that's something that we need to tackle.
As we're going through this, I would like us to standardize, like
Yep.
outline this very
Yep.
clearly.
Yep.
So that there's no ambiguity. Again,
Yep.
whether it's me or you,
Yep.
Jesse sitting up here, the next person that comes in knows, okay, when the engineer gives us a map, we have to log the map with parcel number and then this and this.
Yep.
That way, everything from now until whenever somebody officially changes it, that is the
Yeah.
way it's done.
It's amazing to me because when I look at the historical maps of the town,
Yeah.
there was lot numbers on every single lot in that town.
Yeah,
They could have even done it by lot number
yeah.
back in 18.
Oh,
Yeah, but when it's
They
subjective,
didn't even use it when
Right,
they filed it in the office.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's subjective though. So whether you
Right.
have one secretary or
Right.
supervisors, if somebody says
Right.
like, "No, I don't want to do it that way," then
Right.
there's no
And-
actual
There has to be a
mechanism.
standard operating
Right, and
procedure.
to- and to
Exactly,
that effect,
exactly.
It's things are usually with property, personal profits, grants or grantee, and you have that index. But the county has standardized it and it is now parcel number, but you can also find the grants or grantee. So there's a duplicate system. But we can pay a company to do this. I did reach out to them sometime last year. I dropped the ball because of the whole building issue. I think it probably is gonna be a lot less expensive if we do it. It's gonna
Yeah.
be time consuming,
time
cumbersome.
Yeah.
But they have the know-how. I can get that estimate again. I don't see the time constraint or the pressure to do that rapidly. At that point, it was a little bit of well, what can we do type of a thing, but those tasks are available. The only thing we may want to consider at some point, I think, does JDM have the big scanners? We may at some point want to obtain a large scanner so that we could scan in some of the larger documents that
Okay.
can be physically destroyed.
But we want to keep
but
the record.
We have to keep a record
Yeah,
of.
I said
Yeah,
this
I don't know if
before.
they have those
Yeah.
up there.
I'm sure we can
Yeah.
find one.
I
Yeah,
like JDM has I know they have these large printers,
yeah.
so.
There's all sorts
Yeah.
of stuff.
Yeah.
We can find it.
So,
once we get it, but-
we'll tackle that, but we want to find a system that works well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's easy enough to follow, and even something simple, Lisa and I were talking about color coding. You have, this color is 2 year, this color is 3 year, 5 year, 7 year, infinite, and so that things are just color coded, and so that's just another visual cue for people to understand.
Yeah, just spitballing here with the
Yeah.
little flags. Like if
Yeah.
it's a 2 year, we should put the color on it and then put the year on it.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
way, if it's a green tag 2027, we know,
Yep.
okay, it's a 2 year retention period
Yep.
and it's up 2027, that kind
Yep.
of deal.
One thing I
Um,
will say, the only caveat, right, if it might take years if we do it,
Yeah.
but we'll save money. But if
Right.
we get somebody to do it,
It would
it's
be
done.
Very
Right.
quick.
right.
And,
But-
and then the
Yeah.
material isn't in the way when we either restore the building
Yeah.
Yeah.
or whatever we need to do,
Yeah.
right? Because that's gonna be in the way.
Yeah.
Well, most of the stuff, like just to rip that Band-Aid off, most of the stuff we're gonna have to keep.
Yeah,
There's
Yeah.
some stuff that we're gonna be able to get rid of,
Yeah.
but a lot of it is gonna be stuff that we have to still
So
house.
I guess to your
Right.
point, I don't disagree with you. It's, do we have to keep on using that service? If, I hate to say, if we go through the motion of doing it ourselves, then we can pass along that information and we keep on doing it. If we have a company just digitize and do what we can with what we have now, are we gonna learn from that and be able to move it forward? Or are we just gonna,
We're gonna create a
like a
functional dependency.
subscription with them?
We-
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's gonna be things that we're
Yeah.
allowed to digitize, and there's gonna be
Right.
things we
Well,
have to keep a hard
So
copy.
we can digitize everything. There's
Right.
only certain things
But
that
you-
we can't destroy.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
so.
Yeah, so it's just, I think as we dive into it, we'll know, and then we may be able to solve the question of, was Shady Cabin Circle wasn't ever a road that the paperwork was there but it just wasn't dedicated, wasn't submitted to the right agency. So we may be able to come across some interesting things like that. So I like to dig through old stuff. I know some people do and some people don't, but it may give us some information.
That organization is atrocious.
It is.
It's cardboard boxes with paper stacked against each other. I don't know
Yes.
how we're gonna find
Yeah.
anything in there.
We're gonna, the only way you're gonna find stuff is you're gonna,
Jesse, that's not true.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
Oh, you saw
Dan's been through it a couple times for right to know
Dan
requests.
helped me out with an
Oh.
issue like 2 years back.
But-
The other thing is, we can also recruit high school students that are interested in doing like records preservation. They can get volunteer hours. The only caveat with that is if they're under 18, whoever is doing this project has to have their childhood clearances. It's a matter of just going online and doing everything with a particular agency. I have those clearances because I am certified, my other job licenses. And the school has expressed interest about working with us. So I have that contact person. So down the road, once we kind of know what we're doing, then we could say, here's this box. These are the materials that we think are in this box. Can you go through this and give them a detailed outline? So it could be a very good community project for anyone that's interested in doing it, whether it's residents of Stonecroft or any other residents that are interested in helping us filter through the material. I think that's something that we can do.
And I think we can do it
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, you
Yeah.
know,
whether,
Yeah.
whether
I
it's,
have,
You got a guy.
I'm open.
yeah, and whether
My
it's,
hours are, you know, I could do 20, I could do 30, I could do 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
How about 60? I'm kidding.
Yeah.
whether it's us doing it or we get somebody else to do it, I think, like Jesse, you're 100% right. We're gonna have to go through and effectively reorganize stuff because the system that's there isn't gonna align up with what we're trying to institute. So
Yeah.
we are gonna have to go through everything lock, stock, and barrel and go, okay, this is for parcel number, whatever. It doesn't have any business being in with the other stuff that it's in
Right.
with, has to go in its own little like folder or pile or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna have to do that no matter what, whether it's
Yeah.
us or somebody else. So while we're doing that, we might as well just run it through a scanner while we're doing that, and then,
Right.
Yeah.
you know,
The nice thing is moving forward, everything that we're doing digitally can remain digital.
Yep.
Our only obligation is to make sure we have off-site storage, so cloud storage is sufficient. And
which we're on.
so that's a big plus, so that we don't have to have as much paperwork as we previously did.
Yep.
And again, thank you to Lisa for always being
Yeah.
on top of things and keeping those things organized. So thank you.
We appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
It's a big task. It really is. But I think if we get on top of it now with things warming up, I will have to bring some box by box over here. I cannot be in that building.
Yeah.
Every time I'm there, 5 seconds, I'm like, I'm lit up. So
I'll bring
yeah.
Yeah, and say whether it's me
Yeah.
or Carl or somebody,
Yeah.
yeah,
Gladly volunteer and help with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have a bunch of file cabinets that once we've gone through them, if there's things that are storage, we could certainly repurpose them and use them here again. And I think that's the goal, once they're wiped down and vented out.
Clorox
Yeah.
wipe, Lysol,
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah,
Sorry about going on.
oh, no, that was good.
It's,
It was good.
it's a big little issue. It
Yeah.
really is.
Lisa, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How do we go for 27, 28 to 33?
I said that.
You missed that so long.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a long
I-
time ago.
Yeah,
The
I
numbering
was,
system is
I was
off.
poking at her for missing number 2, but we've apparently skipped
I
29 through
occasionally do
32.
to see if everybody's awake on a Saturday, you know.
If you would have emailed me that agenda, I might have been able to fix it.
That's okay.
I'm kidding.
Thank you.
Okay, going on to the next thing, the Berks County Cooperative Council. We haven't been participating since 2012. This is something that evidently we can participate with. This is typically what we would buy like the salt and stuff through from a county level. There are no minimums or maximums associated with that. So if we are going to participate with that, it doesn't seem like there's any detriment to it. We just need to make sure that we are kind of gearing our co-stars ordering based on the assumption that we're going to be ordering some other stuff from the BCCPC. The big trade-off that I looked back through some notes that I had was with the BCCPC, there's no like minimum or maximum, so there isn't a guaranteed commitment. So if you go purely through the county, you could say, yeah, we're gonna get, X amount, but it's not already ordered specifically for you. So if there's a run on salt like we had this year,
Yeah, everyone had the run on salt.
yeah, if you go to order salt, they might be like, that's really nice that you want 100 tons, but there aren't 100 tons here. Whereas with the co-stars, you put in that you're going to order 100 tons as your minimum, you're going to get your 100 tons.
Yeah, not necessarily.
I mean, there's a much better chance because they take everybody's minimums in and they order that. So it's there. So with the co-stars things, you're allowed to balloon upwards a little bit. So if there's a huge run on salt, there might be some difficulties, but the bottom line is you're pretty much guaranteed salt, more or less.
The problem this year was with co-stars
Yeah.
and the county, both were using American rock salt.
Yep. So hopefully they learned from that
Yeah.
one, but we would just need to shift, if we're going to participate in both, we just need to shift the quantities a little bit so that we're ordering what we feel is a comfortable minimum from co-stars to meet like the minimum obligations. And then we use CPC for anything else that we need to buy. Yes, Lee.
Did we get all our salt back from the other townships where we?
Yes.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
used all of it.
Yeah, it wasn't a physical placement. What happened was we didn't have the physical space for it, so we had an agreement, so just the salt was used up for it,
So
and used up.
What happened was we had some of our salt delivered there,
Yeah,
and then the next time they ordered salt, they had it delivered to
Yeah.
us. So we got the same amount. It was just switched. But yeah, that's all squared.
yeah.
I talked to Carl earlier this morning. We have about 75 tons still in the shed. So we'll want to top that off and then have some still in the wings for next year. But
Yeah.
I really hope we don't have any more snow this year, but we'll see. There's always a chance.
Sat down,
Yeah.
and went in co-stars and updated how to order. How much are we gonna get, at early?
I think it was 2 loads, 100 tons.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say, I think
100
we're
tons,
still getting 100 tons this year, right?
What's that?
Are we getting 100 tons this year still?
No, probably 50.
50? Okay.
I think that's what we put in the order.
Yeah, I would have to look,
The initial order.
yeah.
Yeah.
But there's
So-
that early time that we can
Yeah.
get stuff.
Yeah. So-
And, we updated that.
So we'll be good on salt. We just have to maybe, like I said, readjust what we order from, if we're going from 2 suppliers rather than 1, splitting it up effectively.
What's the benefit from going to 2 suppliers instead of the 1 supplier?
If one supplier's out, you can get it.
Yeah, let's say you now have two avenues in which you can get rock salt from. The problem they had this year, like Lisa said, is both of them were going to the same supplier. So
Yeah.
when the supplier was out, they were both like stuck. So hopefully that won't be the case, but that's the benefit of having the 2 vendors is if the one says, we can't get you rock salt right now, you can just turn around and go, hey, other person, can you give me 100 tons of rock salt?
Are we gonna do something about that building for salt?
We
when
need to.
Start designing.
Yes. So we may not be able to do it right away, but yes, the goal here and what I'd like to see us do is I actually want us to move that salt shed back
Right.
further on the property. And yeah, there's a lot of
There's
unused space back there.
wasted Space
Yeah.
there. Even Matt, talking to Matt
Yeah.
Barnhart, there was a plan at one point to put that building all the way in the back and elongate it with garage doors and a salt shed.
Well, what I wanted to do, and this was in that like cocktail napkin drawing that I did, is I would like to take the salt shed and push it the whole way back on the property and kind of in like you said, like an L shape on one side or the other, maybe not the side that Beverly's house is on, but put the garages there so that you have straight in access to garages or salt. And it makes better use of all of that dead space that's back there.
We gotta get rid of that oil tank first too, so we can
Well,
widen that hole.
I mean, that's the little one. That one's not gonna be hard. The one that kind of still scares me is the buried oil tank.
That's what
This-
I mean.
Well, that's
That's what I'm talking
actually, that's further in the property. That's towards the front. That's
Right.
not towards the back.
Yeah.
Right, but what I'm saying is. what I'm
Yeah,
saying
and that's,
is, though, if you
I
have-
haven't touched, I haven't touched that for obvious reasons. The only way that we would
We're-
have to do that is if you were
insured,
building something
right,
on it.
we're insured for that tank. And so if you want to look in as to best practices as to what to do with
Don't
that.
go there.
Yeah.
We get the numbers. I mean.
We had one estimate.
Don't go there,
um,
Jesse.
The tank.
Yeah.
Pay for
There's a hole
petroleum.
in
Yeah,
it.
Hafer, yeah,
Pay for
Yeah.
petroleum.
yeah,
And I believe it was around 17 grand.
yeah. That's if they don't find any problems with it.
Yeah.
That's
So-
not bad, actually.
Yeah.
It was a very good estimate.
But
Um,
once they disturb that,
and that
once you
was-
open that can of worms, you can't go back.
And
If
that
you
was
find
for-
contamination, you have to remediate it. Whereas if
Yeah.
you let it sit, as horrible as this is gonna sound,
Yeah.
if it's there and it's not causing a problem, it only is a problem when you disturb it.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that, cause if you
Yeah.
you utilize all that space in the back,
Yeah.
right? All that space, now you can widen that driveway.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it would
And
be
you could
great.
drive over
It'd
that
be-
section of
It
land
would be
instead of
great
wasting
long
that corner.
term, but
So-
if we
so-
peel that Band-Aid off, we have to be
Right.
prepared for what
So,
horror is underneath
Let
it.
me ask you guys then, so if you're thinking about moving the salt shed and doing some
Yeah.
more equipment, storage, et cetera, would you consider that being independent from a building renovation?
Yes,
Yes,
And
absolutely, yes.
So do you guys want to get estimates for something like that?
I think we should,
Yeah,
because then we
Yeah.
would have a functional shop for Carl to
Yep.
do our own
Yep,
maintenance.
I think that's.
and,
a-
and it would get
possibly-
everything out of the building.
Possibly if you have a big enough garage bay, we could just have a meeting in there for the time being,
As need be.
as need be,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I could tell you the electricity consumption at the building is still very high. You're fine, Carl, because of how poor things are. I was a little bit surprised when I got the electric bill as to what the costs were. But yeah, if you want to spearhead that, because I think that's in your wheelhouse now, I think that would be ideal. That still may be something that we can do. I don't know if the grant that we've applied for may apply to something like
I
that.
think we're gonna consume all that on
Yeah,
the building
well, yeah.
easily.
If you're starting the work, you cannot do any
Yeah.
work before getting granted.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
but
So
I'm saying-
reserve that
right,
for the
right.
renovation
Yeah,
portion, if
yeah.
you're gonna go
Okay.
that route.
Yeah.
And then you can wholeheartedly do this without any.
We don't want to bite off too much,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because right now, priority is road work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on top of it, we have a wall that's falling down
Right.
Yeah.
that I would rather not let fall down and get worse.
So
Right,
the,
so-
the tricky thing with that
This is
wall
gonna
though,
be,
is because of that being in the wings still for the grant,
Mhm.
we can't touch that, otherwise it might invalidate the grant.
Right,
Yeah.
but we can still get the,
Oh, we
see-
can
we
still-
can even see what, like, with that
Yeah,
estimate, we
yeah, we
gotta
can-
see what it's gonna cost.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
what
we
they
can-
suggest
All
we
of,
do.
all of that stuff we
Right,
can do, we
right,
just
right,
can't
do
turn
that.
somebody
Right,
loose
Right,
and
I
say,
get
fix-
it.
yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
get it.
We have an older estimate of $80,000 for repair of the wall, between 25 to 30 to Band-Aid it, and that we got from an architectural group. Now going on what,
2
3
years
years
That
ago?
was,
Whitmer. Yeah.
But
so-
that was just to keep the garage door there as well.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we're saying
Yeah.
we're gonna get rid of the garage
Yeah.
door, that changes the dynamics of it,
Right.
you could
Yeah.
actually support that wall the way that it was supposed to be.
Yeah,
Right.
but yeah,
Um,
if you wanna go
so-
ahead and look to see what we could do, what kind of a building.
Tag me in on that, but because like, we don't need anything crazy, we could do pole buildings
Right.
back there, and I'm not talking like the ones where you stick the wood into the ground, but like an actual pad,
Right, and
Full
build on
building.
top.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
that,
Talk to Matt and see what they've already had.
He had,
thoughts
Yeah.
he told me there was drawing, so I would like
Yeah.
to talk with him and instead of wasting time and money, see what he had
Yeah.
in his wheelhouse.
Yep.
about. Obviously. he needs to be part of
oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Because
Yeah.
I would like to see radiant floor heat, so Carl doesn't need to dress in a snowmobile suit in winter. You know what I mean? And-
Yeah,
but
yeah, so let's start, we'll
We
start,
also gotta, like I said, mindfully not bite off too much more than we can chew. We still
Right.
have that budget
It
that
does-
we're.
Right, it doesn't
Yeah.
hurt to get numbers, and then this way
Yeah.
we could sit down, like I said, I'm just missing a little bit of data. By hopefully Thursday night's meeting, I could show you guys where we're at financially. We have a lot of constraints as to what we're doing.
we have a lot of open tabs right now
Yes,
for,
yes,
for grants and
Yes.
things like that.
with that tank, why don't we, check the filling it,
The tank?
tank?
Well, so I had actually, and some of this may have changed because this was like 3 or 4 years ago. You have to make sure that it wasn't leaking before you can fill it.
You have to cut it open, you
Yeah.
have to go down in it
Yeah.
and take pictures of it.
Well, there was something with the petroleum tanks, and again, this is several years now, where you actually had to do soil samples on the perimeter and under it, and if it was leaking, that you won't be able to fill it. You have to
Right.
dig the whole thing out anyway. So if we don't touch it, it's covered under the
tank
the
insurance.
tank. Oh, I forget
Yeah,
what the
TIF,
yeah. I was gonna say it's the buried tank stuff that
ground tank.
that Pennsylvania has. It's still covered under the insurance, but if you touch it, then all that changes.
Well,
So
if you
in,
look around the back of it, it's
Yeah.
starting to sink down along the sides.
yeah,
It's gonna cause trouble shortly.
So
yeah.
that being
Yeah.
said, what was the idea in getting these estimates to begin with then?
To better understand if we have to do something with the building, if that's a necessity, then like if we were to, and I'm again hypothetical scenario here, if we knocked the building down and built something else, we would have to do something with that tank. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It would have to be something that was part of that project. But if we're not doing that, then it becomes a non-starter on that. But
Right.
if it's
again,
degrading, then it may
yes,
force our
Right,
hand.
to add to Jesse's, idea here, are we just pushing a problem forward for the board to deal with in 20, 30 years? I mean,
To be, it's
look
not.
what we're getting blamed
It's
for now.
it's not going to last 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
are I'll say doing a risk avoidance on this one rather than
Yeah.
risk mitigation. Because we know it's a problem. Like, I think everybody sitting here recognizes that it's a problem. The question is, do we
Yeah.
have the capability right this second to
No.
deal with said problem? And I think
No.
the answer from a monetary standpoint is no.
I agree, but there's also the ethical portion of it too.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Well, we haven't
We
had
just- we
fuel
don't-
oil in that
we
for
don't have-
years.
I don't like contaminated.
Yeah,
Everybody knows I
I-
don't like contaminated
yeah.
soil.
I don't like contaminating soil
Yeah.
or anything either. I'm a very pro environment person,
Yeah.
but the bottom line is we haven't had fuel in that tank for a number of years. So
Mhm.
it's sitting empty.
Mhm.
So it's not like we're actively putting fuel oil into
Right.
it every year and letting it leach out and putting more in and letting it leach. It's just kind of there.
Right.
So the next step, regardless of anything else, is a question of time. When are we going to take that tank out? Because whatever, and again, I'm just saying this as loosely as I can so that I don't create legal problems. Any damage that has been done is
Mhm.
already done. Like we may know it or we may not know it. Whatever was done is done. We're not doing any further damage, but it's there. Whether it's Schrodinger's cat, it's either leaking or it's not. We have no way of knowing short of digging it out. So when we're feasibly ready to do that, then we have to do it. But like right now would not be the time to do that
Mhm.
because we have so many other like the road stuff and the
Mhm.
grants and everything else that's in flux. It would, like you said, be too much
Oh
to
my
chew.
God. Yeah.
So maybe that's something that we should look at building in some stuff, shifting some values around on the budget for next year to see, okay, well, maybe we take a little bit from here and a little bit from here. Maybe we can put the 17,000 in, but we need to be prepared for worst case scenario. When they crack that thing open and they go, you're going to have to dig out like 90 yards of soil to be able to remediate this.
Hopefully there's no
And-
dead bodies. again.
Yeah, we find Jimmy Hoffa. But
Just
we got to be prepared for the eventuality
Right.
of the sheer excessive amount of labor that it's going to take to remediate it,
Mhm.
plus any of the disposal of the soil and everything else.
Was that diesel or was that gasoline?
That was technically diesel because that was the heating oil for the building back when we had the gas furnace.
Okay. All right.
There's a pump over there too, though, so there had to be.
There,
gas
that
or
was,
diesel tank as well.
I think there's a small gas tank to it, but
There's a
big-
pump that goes straight down into the tank.
yeah,
And that was used for emergencies when they were plowing snow. They.
oh, so it was a pump for the diesel.
right,
Okay,
they
so it
were
wasn't
pumping
gas.
Diesel out to the equipment.
Yeah, because I know at one point there was a small gas tank, and I don't think it's there anymore. Or
That
it
was above ground though, wasn't it?
There was the one that was above ground next to the salt shed, but I believe there was one that was in that same area. I'd have to look back at the maps. But I know the big tank, the one that we're talking about that has the
Yep.
insurance policy on it, that was diesel effectively. It was heating oil.
Okay.
So, yeah, we'll have to definitely keep that on our radar. But again, I have intentionally not touched that one because of the can of worms that it is.
What would it cost us just to have testing?
Just the testing, again,
Well,
once
really,
you
you gotta open up that soil to do it.
Well-
Because I talked to April Petroleum,
and once
they
you
gotta
do,
dig it out.
Yeah.
And then they test.
and
And
once,
then if they find it, they keep
They
digging, they
drill-
keep testing.
They drill alongside of them.
well,
before.
the other thing is, once you test it, if there's a problem,
Yeah, then
you are
have to
legally
count them.
required to remediate it, which again puts us back in that sort of catch-22 scenario. So I don't disagree for a second that we need to do something about it. It's what's the right time to do something about it. And I don't think right now is the right time to try to peel that one particularly. So,
Well, we're gonna have to watch that.
Oh, yeah.
because That thing's going down.
oh yeah, if it's starting to heave out, then yeah, it might be like the wall. It forces our hand, but this is one of those things that I use the term loosely of burning down the house. It's not burning down the house yet. It's quietly, boiling away on the stove, but hasn't started to fire yet. So again, we got to be attentive to it. We got to keep an eye on it. We got to assess options and maybe get if somebody says oh yeah, well we can test it this other way. The state now allows us to, do core samples from, 3 feet around it or whatever. We can certainly go that route. But right now, as far as I know, as it stands, if we do any sort of review on that, we basically open ourselves up to requirement by various regulatory agencies for remediation. And I'm call me not the optimist here, but things don't usually work out well for us. So if we look at it, it's going to be the worst it possibly can be. It's not going to be like, oh yeah, you can just fill it with sand and move on with life.
I think we got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna beat that dead horse repeatedly, Dan, because I want everybody to understand, yes, problem, we don't want to touch it. We don't want to kick that hornet's nest.
Let's see, a car or a
Well,
truck or.
yeah.
that's why I brought it
Yeah,
up, right?
yeah,
So if we put the garage, the salt shed back there, now we're gonna have a little more traffic coming in and out of there, swinging trailers.
Even now,
Yeah.
So now we could utilize the space. I didn't want you driving over it and ending up in the tank with the tank. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
but I'm saying even now, with even mowing, they've been noticing it going down.
I haven't seen it go down.
I
I've
haven't-
walked it.
So I'll
Yeah.
show you.
Well, if you see it going down, I need to know about it,
You ever notice it?
because then that also opens up a can of worms about remediation. But
Yeah,
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen any sinkage there
yeah,
because I've looked at it. But if you've seen it, point it out. If you see something, say something, right? Just like the park, just like everything. See something, say something.
yeah. I mean, it's been a hot minute since I went and looked at it, but when I looked at it last, it seems
Yeah.
like structurally sound on the back and the sides and the top and everything, but,
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna,
You okay, Beverly?
Sorry, but.
yeah, before we put Beverly to sleep, let's move on to, the office supplies.
Catch you go cold.
And Dan.
Oh, Dan.
Dan's-
Dan, move over here.
Okay,
Now I'm allergic to something.
yeah, you're allergic to talk about oil tanks.
Yeah.
Office supplies, we're gonna look around to see if there's a cheaper place to buy office supplies.
I think if we get onto the Amazon.
Yeah.
account, that may be.
Yeah, that'll
Yeah.
be a
I
lot
mean,
better.
TDM's very convenient. Actually, most of the time when we compare the prices online, it tends to be the same, but, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
The decal for the door should be coming any day now, but as far as, Marion Township, and, we have some privacy film that's gonna go up.
Okay, did they, I didn't take notice this morning when I came in, did they take the tea room sign down?
No.
Okay.
I didn't, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
It was-
Okay,
Yeah.
so they'll need to take that down, that's the first step, and, I theoretically should have some time tomorrow. I have all of my, like, style guide stuff and the stuff for the sign there, I just need to put it into Photoshop and vectorize it so that it can
Yeah.
be printed. Just in
Does
case
it
everybody.
have emergency operations?
Oh, no, it'll have like the lettering and stuff on it, but that was
Yeah.
the logo that I had spitballed with you guys before. It's the stuff from the bottom of the Pennsylvania state flag. It's the mountain laurel and the corn,
Okay.
and then the turtle on the turtle shell. It's the
Yeah.
outline of Berks County with Marion Township highlighted in red.
Interesting, that's really neat.
So
Did you know what Marion Township was named after?
I actually don't.
Francis
Oh.
Marion.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a,
He was
there's
a
thing-
famous general, believe it
Yeah.
or not, the Indian wars in the area. So,
Okay.
It's at the old building, it's in the, we have a print up of it in the old building, it's on the wall there.
But ironically, he's
Yeah.
never fought a battle up here.
Really?
But his units were up here for the that's why they named it.
So just kind of side note on that one, whenever we do with the building, we kind of need to have a thing there that like when you come in a plaque that kind of explains like the history of
Mhm.
Marion Township briefly of like, you know, when it was founded, why it was named what it was named.
It's
I think
it's
that
in
would
the
be
meeting
really,
room.
yeah, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, there's a print up in the meeting room.
Yeah, when in your spare time, which I know you
Yeah.
don't have, look it up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting read.
Okay.
You print it up, if you've got the
Yeah.
printout of
Yeah,
it, it's up,
or
it in.
if you got it, like if it's digital, send it
Yeah,
around.
we could retrieve the one that, the thing, the item. is-
Yeah.
And there was a famous general that, or he was an officer at the end of his term that was a local politician, but ended up moving to California. But he was taught in the military academy in town.
Cool.
Yeah, I was, Travis said by the end of the week, beginning of next week, so,
Okay.
hopefully, cause I still do have
Yeah.
people stopping here looking for the tea room.
Yeah, if it says Emergency Operations Center, that opens it up to other things.
Yeah, and I'll make sure that that's on there.
Yeah.
It's like municipal offices and
Even if
emergency
it's
operations
just
center.
like, just a short section.
Well, I was
Yeah.
planning on, we're gonna reuse the physical sign. We're just gonna turn it over
Yep.
and get them to print
Yep.
on it.
That'd be
So it'd
cool.
be the logo on the one side and then like municipal office, so like township municipal offices, and then like anything else that we wanted to put on the bottom, like, you know, emergency management coordinator, you know, whatever.
Was he
Yeah.
involved in the Diefenbach fire last night?
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was a fire.
It was
that took
There's a
huge.
place.
fire. I asked them if it smelled good.
Oh, probably was not all that lard and stuff for the chicken.
Yeah,
Okay, the committee for the township building, moving right along. It's gonna be a 7-member committee. There is a sign-up sheet. I don't know if we have a deadline date. I don't know.
We need to make
Do
one.
Yeah, we need to make.
My
one.
concern is if we put a deadline on it, we don't have all 7 people, then what do we do?
We have so many names on that sheet
Do we?
yeah.
Okay.
that I
didn't do-
don't even,
Okay,
like,
I think it's a,
Like Kelly was saying, there's names on there that I guess people didn't know what they were signing up for. So what we need to do
We
is,
gotta
because
call
there's
people.
about probably 30 names, what we need to do is probably not call all 30 names. We pick our people and then make sure they want to do it.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way to do it, right?
Okay.
Instead of calling 75 people.
So why don't
And
we,
Dan is making contact with people at Stone.
yeah.
okay,
And we're sending out a letter on our
Yeah.
website.
okay,
Yeah,
good.
ideally, we
For
want
any
people from all
volunteer.
over the
Yeah, and
township.
that's what I'd said.
Yeah.
We want to get like 2 people from Stonecroft, 2
Mhm.
people from the town, 2 people from the farms, and then,
You have the farms and the town.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we want to make sure we have a good representation of Marion Township as a whole, not just a spot representation of like, oh, this is just the people on Main Street that are talking about this.
And you need
So-
people with knowledge.
Yeah. Kind of goes without saying. So I would say let's maybe put the deadline to be like the end of April or something like that, just to keep things moving.
April or May.
Okay, I mean,
It doesn't bother me.
May
Whatever
1st.
you think would be.
May 1st?
May 1st?
Sure.
Okay, so we'll authorize that on Thursday night for setting the deadline on that, but then we can start, even before that deadline, we can start calling people that we feel are good candidates for that and getting that ready so that after the May 1st deadline, that the next meeting, we can appoint everybody and then turn loose.
Mhm. Because they're ultimately gonna get all the estimates for everything, right?
Yep,
Everything.
Yep.
Even the
Lock-
new building and
lock, stock and
look at
barrel,
all of it.
every possible way that we could approach this is the goal of the committee to give us their assessment of
Yep.
all the facts, all the details, and make a recommendation.
Engineering costs, planning cost, everything. I
Exactly.
want them to just see everything, and then we can see where the people's minds are at.
Yep. Agreed.
Is this gonna have to be published and advertised?
It should be.
and-
Yeah,
It's-
it's-
if you
it
read
is,
Colin's
yes.
Letter,
Yeah.
it's a legit board.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
we would have to
I
advertise
just
that.
wanted to make sure. I thought so.
So the easiest thing would probably be to either do it on a night before, after, or a Saturday.
Yeah.
After a town hall meeting.
Well, I would say let the committee, I would say
They can decide, I
let's
guess.
decide the kind of the what and when,
Yeah,
but, because it may not work for everybody to be there on a Saturday. They may
Right.
think like everybody's able to do Wednesday at 7,
Right.
whatever. Let them figure out what their
Mhm.
mechanism is and then we'll advertise accordingly.
yeah. Because I would like to attend those meetings, but
Yeah.
Well, one board member has to be on it, right?
I don't think so,
No,
right?
no, we want to be there.
I
but-
want to, I'd like to watch.
Yeah.
And sit on that side for
You want
once.
them to kind of think
Right.
independently, not necessarily with
them
our
look at it.
influence.
We don't want to be
Yeah.
an echo chamber of
Yeah.
things because they're
No.
going to bring the stuff
Yeah.
to the board anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
Maybe
Yeah.
you want a liaison.
well, and this is where like, I think Jesse definitely wants to be there. I'll
I
try
wanna-
and,
yeah.
I'll try and be there as much as I can, but like we'll be there, but we want to almost kind of take a step back and get the
I want-
outside
I
ideas.
want an independent decision
Yeah.
to see what they think,
Yeah.
right?
I think you really want a fact-finding
Mhm.
committee.
Well, yeah, and that's,
Once your fact-finding committee gathers their information,
Hmm.
then they should present it to
Yeah,
the town.
and that's ultimately what this is. We would also be feeding facts to them as well. Like if we got an estimate or, a design or something like that, we'd be providing information too. But the goal, the intent for this is for that committee of people and anybody else that's involved participation wise is to go and get more information. Cause like I think a certain way, Irene thinks a certain way, Jesse thinks a certain way, and we do things as a reflection of that. When we get an outside committee of people like that, each and every person is going to bring a different perspective to that. And there may be things that you guys think of that don't even occur to us. And we want to make sure that we're getting as true and holistic of a picture as we possibly
But
can.
you don't want to influence
No.
your committee.
No, and that's why we were saying we wouldn't actually have a board member sitting on the committee. We'll be there, we'll participate,
It's a
but
public meeting.
it's a public
so
meeting.
anyone can go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this would be effectively, if
Yeah.
Jesse's there or I'm there, we're residents. We're
Yeah.
not board members in the capacity of going and attending that meeting. So, okay. The next 2 things are Thursday night only. We don't have the emergency management coordinator report or the fire department report. So that actually concludes the main items for the meeting. I don't have any additional comments. Dan,
I do.
okay. So real quick, let me run through these and then I'll turn it over to you guys. Irene, do you have any comments?
Still problems with the mail. We had one vendor reach out to us, a check that was sent at the end of January, never reached them, so Lisa and I are still kind of dealing with some mail issues, so
Okay.
just trying to stay on top of that. It's just getting very frustrating. I had to put in a stop payment order So now I'm gonna slip in little sticky notes. Please give us a call when you've received this. We've had problems with the mail.
One thing about animal life.
Are we talking about our resident or ex-resident raccoon?
No, this is another animal life
Okay.
event. So there have been reports of birds again on other people's property.
Wild birds or domesticated?
The
Farm
egg,
birds.
the egg laying variety?
Yes.
Okay.
So unfortunately, I know that we need to open up that zoning thing and clear these things up so we can try to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
part
We
of
need
it.
to look for that. We need to look for that opening for the joint zoning board
Yeah.
to change
Okay.
that because I don't know how to enforce it if we
Well,
can't.
no, it can be, it still can be enforced. It's just, it's the setbacks.
Okay.
If-
So we
if
did
you
part A,
ignore-
but not, like, we did
Yeah,
one part of
you
this, but
can-
not the second
You
part,
can,
the setback.
as long as
Okay.
you're not focusing solely on that setback requirement that had the number of feet incorrect, they're still able to enforce everything else in that ordinance.
Okay, because I would rather not like to pick and choose.
Well,
what
we don't-
enforce.
we
I'd
don't-
like to have it written
Right.
Yeah,
down.
we don't,
Right,
I agree,
right.
I agree. We
Right.
don't,
But
we don't
so
want to blue law
We need
things,
to find
but
that opening because
Yeah.
I got a call and then unfortunately I didn't say, Lisa, I told them to call you, but they got my number somehow. And then I had them call Lisa.
Yeah.
And Lisa had to do an investigation on these birds again. And it's just,
Yeah.
So if it's a setback issue, yes, we have to remedy that
yeah.
at some point.
Yeah.
so the animal issue, the asbestos in the building.
Yeah.
That has to be mitigated no matter what,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So do we want to get it out of there? Because that estimate that I had was
Would that-
$4,700.
Yeah, hold on. So
Or-
the grant, if we do anything until we
We
get
can't
that grant
touch it.
decision, it could invalidate it.
So what about if I go down there and get it out?
No.
No,
there's
it's still work.
being conducted.
Yeah, even if we're not paying anything, it's still,
But this is just
Yeah.
removing the
still,
rock.
well, no, even then, that might put us into further hot water because you're not licensed to abate asbestos. Like, it sucks, but our best course of action right now is to pause for a bit.
Okay, because I thought as long as I had the proper PPE and I had
No.
No,
taken it to a proper place for proper disposal.
no, there's a bunch of other red tape that goes along with that. Which is why, again, much like the oil tank, not to beat that dead horse more.
Right.
Right now, our best course of action is to not touch it.
No
Because
touching.
then if that grant comes through, we haven't screwed ourselves on getting it to $370,000. And part of that can be used towards remediating the asbestos in the legally required ways.
Gotcha.
So yeah, as again, counterintuitive and like, man, it sucks to have to kind of sit on hold for a bit.
Right.
That's the play. That's what we have
Okay.
to do right now.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It does happen too.
Yeah.
I had another client that got a grant, went in and started doing work, lost the grant.
Yeah. So we want to be very
Definitely
careful,
risky.
very careful about that.
Not our written grant, but.
Somebody else.
Previous,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Kelly, you had something you wanted to plug for sandwich coupons?
No, I don't have them with me, but yeah, if you want some, I'm selling. Justina sandwich tickets, $8 a piece. MTC is selling them. They expire in March of 2026. Car show May 17. So that means you have March and April to swear in your fire police.
Yep.
If you want them working at your car show.
Yep. And from what Steve Weaver said last time, we should be fine for that.
Street sweeping, May 7 and 8,
Mhm.
when I do my yard sale flyer and go to door with that.
Yep.
I will add that to there. My other concern is minutes, township minutes.
Yeah, she's been catching up on that.
I've been catching up with
Yeah,
them.
that they having
Yeah.
the building closed on Friday has given her
Friday's
time
my day to do minutes,
do
and
minutes.
I'm,
Yeah. It's a lot. There's so much to do. Yeah.
I understand there's
Yeah.
a lot been going on, but I have people in the public
Yeah.
coming to me
Yeah.
and questioning.
I've heard it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Legally,
I
if that's even legal
Yeah.
to not have that stuff.
I checked with
Prove
PSATs,
those.
yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, it's
They should be done, but legally,
She's not on a timeline.
Yeah.
To have them complete.
yeah.
Yeah.
How many have you gotten done so far?
I think I sent 4 to you guys, and, Monday I have one I have like 10 minutes left in the
So
Meeting and-
Lisa, I only got that one email from you with those two.
Okay.
to read. So I haven't gotten any more than those two.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I don't know if I just didn't get
Yeah.
the email
All
or
right,
what.
I'll
So-
double check.
Even just get some of
But
them.
I was,
Well, that's
Yeah.
for Thursday night. We'll have 4, possibly 5 of them.
but there is a very, we do it, and I'm not trying to pressure you, but there is.
Yeah.
We can say there's no timeline, but there
But
kind of
there is, yeah.
Yeah,
There
but,
is a
yeah,
timeline,
Yeah.
right? So, but I did read what you sent me, so thank you.
Mhm. Yeah.
I didn't get a second email though, just so you're aware.
Yeah.
And I appreciate
Yeah. Yeah,
all
part,
that you did.
part of the problem is the microphone and the technology. It's very difficult to hear a lot of what's said, so it's going back over and back over and back over it, you know?
Are you using that one or are you using the Zoom one?
I'm on the Zoom.
Okay, because I mean,
Yeah.
you should be able to hear us perfectly fine on the
Yeah,
Zoom.
the Zoom, the thing is, like, over at the building, if
Yeah.
somebody was in the
Yeah.
back of the building and did not get up to come to the podium,
Then
it's like,
yeah,
Don't you- I know you can't write everything down, but
yeah, I do, but,
sometimes you gotta fill in blanks.
yeah, when somebody's making, like, one of the residents is making a statement, I
and you
have
wanna
to,
have it correct.
yeah. You know, I don't,
It takes time.
you know, somebody's out there like saying, oh, the sky's blue, I don't wanna be like, did they say it's purple out there? And, you know, misquote
Yeah.
somebody, and then that person come back to me and say, hey, I know I said in that meeting it was blue, and you're telling me it's purple, and, you
Yeah,
know.
so bottom line is she's making a concerted focus on getting any of the backlog done. And then we'll go through what we have for this Thursday, and then hopefully by the next meeting, we'll be all caught up again.
Yeah.
Having that clerical day for her is a kind of a big,
Big plus.
benefit, of her being able to catch up on that stuff rather than just running around like a mad woman on fire all day, every day, trying to do like the phones and the emails and people coming in and permits, and this way she can just
Yeah.
take care of
And
that.
again,
Or
right, another
anything else.
FYI, if they want to watch it on YouTube, they're posted to YouTube. If they don't have a connection at home, they can go to the public library and they can assist them with finding it on YouTube as well.
But your minutes need to be approved and posted.
Yeah,
Yes.
agreed,
By
yeah,
law,
yeah.
by
Yeah.
law.
Yeah. Again, I don't think anybody is contesting that point. We just
No,
have a
no,
little bit of a backlog that the secretary's
I
working.
get that, but
Yeah.
I just.
Okay, anything else, Kelly? Okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's what Fridays are, you know,
And that-
yeah,
That's fine.
so,
Appreciate all
and
that you do.
Yeah, Lisa?
I just literally started, what was it, last week, 2 weeks ago,
weeks ago.
full-time?
Yeah,
Exactly.
So it's, I'm trying to, I was working,
She's been
You moved the
running around like
office how
chicken
many
with a head
times?
Cut off in here every day
Yeah.
since.
yeah,
so, yeah,
How many
so,
times have you moved your office?
yeah.
yeah.
To your home?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
I get
was like a snowball effect. They even know it, I think August is when we got picked up. In July, I got sick, then Sue got sick, and then Sue was only working a couple of days, and then Val was gone, and then we were training Soul, and then after Soul started, then the township building, and then moving out, and then moving here, and it's just been that,
it's been a
it's
rocky
just been
6
that
months.
constant thing, and then
I
part-time
appreciate
only,
your staying
yeah.
here.
Yeah, only
getting
working
settled
like
in.
4 or 5 days, 4 or 5 hours a day, when it's
Yeah.
definitely a full-time position, just doing all this stuff is, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Sue was very good at what she did.
Yeah.
Like, you're very good too, but like Sue was a machine.
yeah,
So,
But
like,
to the material at home.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Sue-
true. That's true.
yeah,
She
Sue
would
did
be
a
at
lot
the
of stuff
office,
at home.
And she
Yeah.
would be at the office even after the doors shut, closed the
Yeah.
doors and did everything. Yeah.
So we're
Yeah.
on top of it.
Yeah.
Anything else, Lisa, that you want to bring up?
No, I think the question is about residents with complaints. I know they're reaching out to the supervisors, but
Everything should come through the township
yeah, I was gonna
office.
say, I think it should,
So
you
like-
know, that way I can make a formal, you
So
know,
like I said to everybody, you want to call me, you can always call me.
Yeah.
I will always talk to you.
Yeah.
But if you want to do a formal complaint, the office needs to know about it. It needs to go through Lisa so we can do something about it, because I can't do anything about it as an individual. Because then it looks like I'm picking on somebody, and I can't do it that way. It needs to come through the office, and then she can
Right.
dictate it to us, and then we
But
can
it
do.
also
Yeah, and that's-
can be recorded as a public comment.
That's the same
that's what it
model
should
I've
be.
used,
So-
whether it's
Yeah.
Al or
Yep.
like Lee. If you catch
You're-
me on the street or anything like that, I'll always talk to you.
You're more than
But
welcome to
you
talk
gotta
to me.
you gotta go through the right
I
channel if
would
you
like
actually want to
people to
complain
reach,
about
I
it.
like people reaching out to me because
Yeah.
I like knowing something is coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if we need to do a complaint, we need to call Lisa right away or call the PD right away, right? Because if we're having issues with graffiti in the park or something, like we can't just, man, 2 days later, someone tells me about it.
Yeah.
And then they tell me, I'm like, well, did you call the office? No. Did you call the PD? No.
Yeah.
Now they're 2 days away from what they did.
Yeah, conversation's nice, but we needed it to go through
Right.
the right
If you
mechanism.
saw it that day, I need you to call now so we can possibly have a better chance of catching the individual or whatever's going on.
Yeah.
Right. Or if you see a dog eating a tether ball, you need to call now so we can catch the dog
Yeah.
and punish the owner.
Yeah. Carl, anything for you?
No.
Okay, cool.
Dan had a-
Oh, Dan.
Oh, he's still here.
Well, yeah,
I just wanted to briefly go back to the historical item
okay,
on the second floor
yes,
of the township building. I've been in contact with the Hoboken Settlement Historical Society.
Hmm.
They have a building at 116 North Front Street in Womelsdorf. It's a 2-story building with an elevator. They have a meeting hall that will hold 95 people. They have a museum and they have a library. They also have 380 members. To be a member of the society, it's an annual $30 fee. So these members are scattered throughout the United States, not just in this local area. They are more than willing to help preserve these artifacts that are on the second floor. You folks just need to make a decision as to
Yes.
when you want to move them.
yeah. And I had actually, after you and I had talked the following meeting, I had brought that up and mentioned that like there might be an opportunity to work with them on certain things, or we have duplicates of a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
That we could give some of the duplicates to that society, and it serves two purposes. They're going to take care of them and they're going to enjoy them. And we also don't have to keep them in our building.
Right.
So that's very much something that I want to explore with them. And if you've got a good inroad on that,
I'll
then
tell you what, their library hours are 1 to 4 p.m. Sundays, Mondays, and Fridays. And you can certainly go. In fact, I was a little surprised. David Stasby was the vice president of this association.
Dave Stabby.
So,
Yeah,
Interesting. I didn't realize that Dave was.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
Stephen R. Muldell is the president. I don't know him.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
for
very
that.
much.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic idea.
So, yeah, they're willing to work with you. I was hoping someone would be here this morning, but unfortunately it didn't happen.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
do we know
They're-
whose stuff it is? Like,
It's
it's the
ours
townships.
technically. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Okay.
if
townships.
it's in their possession is 9/10 of the law, as the expression goes.
Yeah.
If it was left there, unless there was some documentation that someone said, can you please hold on to this for me and I want it back. If there's no documentation, it was considered donated to the township.
Right.
I mean, I think years ago there was some like historical. I don't want to call it historical society, but it was some
Yeah.
historical group, but they weren't officially like a board
Yeah.
or anything that was formed, and they just sort of evaporated at
Yeah.
one point. I believe it was a situation where like Matt Barnhart was the last person that was involved
Yes,
with it and said
yes.
like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yes.
But yeah, as
Because
far
I
as I
spoke to
know,
Matt about
everything up there is Marion
Yeah,
Townships.
so I said I would bring it to your attention. When I was at the last MTCA meeting, the gentleman that owns the Reed's Church.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He expressed sincere interest on the organ that's in the building because it came from Reed's Church
Okay.
originally.
Okay.
I'm good. Yeah.
So I said I would ask and I'd bring it to the panel's attention. I forgot about it till Dan said something here.
Is he like intending to use it or just want like as a showpiece or what?
Something else.
I have no idea. He said, I think it was an old Bible, maybe one of the originals. And
Yeah.
then also the original organ that supposedly is in our township building
Yeah,
from that
it
church.
is. It is.
So he did express interest in getting those items back, but
Sure.
I don't know
Yeah.
how you guys want to handle
Sure.
I mean,
people laying requests on items
the-
and that
the
kind
I
of thing.
think
'Cause
the
that can be, if one person says he wants the organ,
Yeah.
how do I know it wasn't his or I
Well,
don't
Right,
want
but
to
it's
also.
ours.
I think the
Yeah.
big thing with that is it's going back to the original property.
Mhm.
That's the big thing. So if somebody came to us and said, hey, you guys, there's a, like that big like cogwheel that's up
Mhm.
there. It's like, hey, that was actually part of, I bought the property and there's a mill house and I want to restore it. And that was part of it originally. Can I get that back?
Right,
Like, that's very different than you just coming and going, I kind of like that. Can I have that?
right.
So,
Because me as a property owner in the historical town of Stouchburg, I would like to purchase some of the items that came from my house if they're in that building, because my house had 3-4 businesses in
yeah,
it, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would be cool for me to
I mean-
purchase when I'm restoring my home.
not that I
But
want
I
to
also-
necessarily put a ton of stuff back into like
Right.
private hands, but
Right.
I think we almost have a responsibility that if there is something like the organ or something like that, where somebody comes out of the woodwork and says, hey, I have the property, I want to do something that is historically valuable and
Mhm.
restore it. Can I get this piece that was originally part of that property? I don't even know if we should sell it. I think we should just give
Yeah,
it back to the
yeah.
person.
If that's your consensus, I'll talk to him.
Selling
Yeah,
runs,
but-
runs us into a problem.
Yeah, I mean, aside from that, just from the
Yeah.
ethical reasons of like,
I mean,
we're
I-
effectively, you know,
I was-
museuming like semi-stolen.
I mean, I was at a flea market and I found my address. There was a
Yeah.
butcher shop in there. I found one of the old flyers from my
Yeah.
home when there was a butcher shop in the side.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was cool. I bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We could just double check
Yeah.
with Colin what kind of documentation we'd need just to memorialize redistributing some of these items.
There was also some
Donate
photos or
or-
something that a
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
Lisa, I don't know if anybody had made contact with you. I can't, the last name escapes me, Judy, at the corner of Main and Water, who lives there. Her family member, she was given the Victrola from Ann Fictorn, her family, and she asked if she could have that back. I told her she would have to contact
yeah,
you.
have her,
I don't know if she did.
yeah, have her contacts.
Yeah.
So are you okay if I have that gentleman that owns the church contact you and
Yeah.
talk to you as well?
Yeah, have him call
Have him call
Lisa,
Lisa.
then we can.
So
we
I
can
guess,
contact her.
Lisa, for the next meeting then, if we could ask Colin if he has any concerns or any proper way that we should be documenting redistribution of items that are currently at the building that may have some historical significance, whether or not the person has the ability to prove with documentation that it was originally owned by them or not.
Okay.
So,
The church one
Yeah.
will be easy because he has photos of
Yeah.
it there.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, with
But-
photos,
Yeah.
photos especially, I think are easy because we can digitize
Right.
them.
Right.
and then-
Well, I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
that-
right, right.
Just
Yeah.
that the organ came.
Right.
Oh,
from.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
the bottom line is it's in our possession. We could dispose of the property the way we want to, but at the same time, we don't want to be considered playing favorites or seeking any monetary gain for disposal of this property. So I guess we would be allowed to have some monetary gain, but that's not what we're doing.
No.
We want to get these items to a good home so that the public can enjoy them or that previous owners can respect the value of the historical item that they were previously in possession of or, wanted to continue to
Yeah.
possess.
It has,
I agree with Irene.
Yeah,
You just don't want people coming
Exactly.
in.
Well, yeah,
right.
and that was the point I
Because
made.
everybody can
My
like.
cousin, second cousin,
Yeah.
wore number 8 baseball uniform.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
agreed. But if there's like the building thing, I'm gonna just use that as the prime example. There's a very clear-cut tether
Yeah.
to that item, to that
You mean the
locale.
organ?
Yeah,
the
yeah,
organ.
thank you.
Right.
That it's not very nebulous in nature.
Yeah.
It's very cut and dry.
It has been brought to my attention that somewhere in one of those cabinets
Mhm.
possibly is a log
Yes.
Okay,
on who donated what.
Okay.
Now, if someone is willing to meet me up into the history room and we look through it and find the log.
I will look and I need to contact, I have a contact person that I think knows exactly where that log
Yeah.
is.
okay.
If you're dust, mold, or mildew sensitive, I'd recommend wearing a mask. It is overwhelming.
It's very dusty.
Yeah.
Are we keeping any of this stuff for our new
We are.
room?
We're not getting rid of everything, but like with the Tulpahawken Society, we have duplicates of a bunch of stuff.
Right.
So like that's an
Right.
easy
With
one.
the
Or if
exact
there's
cabinet
things like
shelf.
the organ, like we're not fire sailing.
I
But-
feel the organ should go back there to
Yeah.
them. And that way you have a little bit more negotiation for the snow plowing.
I mean, it's not,
But
it's not
I
even a
don't wanna-
negotiation thing.
I
It's
don't-
not a
yeah.
you scratch my back or you scratch
No,
yours. It's, we want to be good neighbors.
right,
And
that's what
if,
I mean.
yeah, if it came out and if the happenstance is that he lets us use the lot as,
He's also
but-
made it clear to us.
yeah,
Yes. He expresses
Good.
sincere emotion for that item.
Okay,
Right.
Yeah.
But he's also made it clear that he doesn't want
Right.
that building at 36 Main Street to be a museum.
yeah,
Either.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That wasn't his intent.
Yeah.
But
So,
he did.
yeah, we can talk about it, but I think the general consensus here is if there's a very easily identifiable, a viable relationship between piece and person or property, then we'll absolutely entertain the idea. History,
We know who donated the jar.
yeah.
Yeah.
So as long as we have a good understanding of that, I think it's something we can accommodate. And we have plenty of stuff up there, even if a couple of things go back to their respective homes. There's still a ton of stuff that is historical relevance that we can display in whatever we do with the building. So,
We have 2 full classrooms.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like we've got no shortage of stuff, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that are duplicates, and there's a lot of things like the organ that are.
Yeah.
I think the organ is just sitting in the hallway back there because it's
That's one
heavy
of
as
the
hell.
last things that was.
Yeah.
put up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how that bell got up there.
I think the bell was up
The bell
and it
was
came
up.
down.
Oh,
Yeah.
was it?
The bell came down, bell didn't go
Yeah.
up.
I guess one more last thing.
yes.
Just questioning Beverly for the position.
Yes.
Does that need to be done as part of the record?
Technically, yes.
Okay.
So before we adjourn the meeting, because we went through comments and everything, anybody that wants to hang out, you're welcome to. Kim and Joe will be brief about it so we can talk about the plans, but we are going to talk to Beverly a little bit about the zoning hearing board position. So you're welcome to go about your Saturdays, or you're welcome to hang out.
Take some donuts.
Yeah, say take a donut.
You didn't press it.
You guys don't need me for anything else, do you?
That'll be
I'll
next
get you
month.
coffee next time.
That'll be
How's
next.
that?
That'll be
I
next month.
promise.
You
Yes.
don't need me for anything
No,
else.
no, you're good. You're good. Thank you, Carl.
Lisa,
Oh, you need to say your name.
Lisa, can you make
Yeah.
the MTCA a copy of this for us and a copy for them?
How many copies do we-
Two copies.
Yeah,
Two.
make one for them and one for us.
And scan it in. Just make sure we have it. I think we have a digital of it, but
Do you think I ought to send that back?
Yeah, I saw.
I mean,
Do I still need to be
You're gonna
recording
mute
this?
no, you can pause it. Don't
Pause it.
stop it. Pause it.
Okay.
Thank you again.
Video and
Thank you,
audio
guys.
again.
You want me to start recording this?
Yeah, if you would.
No. Right.
Click too many things too fast. Okay. So, Beverly Brossman is interested in the zoning hearing board position. So Beverly, the zoning hearing board is a mechanism for people that have, I'll say, needs for variance or adjustment based on what the zoning requires. So being a member of the hearing board, you would be required to know and understand all the rules around the zoning stuff. Is that something that you think you'd be
Yes.
able and capable for? Okay. We actually don't have that many of these crop up. It's maybe once or twice a year.
The last one was
Yeah,
beginning of last year, so it's been a year.
It's been a year. So it doesn't happen a whole lot, but the importance of this is so that we are, if you're appointed to the board, you and the other members of that committee would properly assess what the request is and make sure that it's being granted or denied based on the merits and the requirements of kind of the situation at hand. So we need to have somebody who is going to be able to, like I said, understand the requirements of the zoning, as well as understand how that fits in neighboring properties. So easy example, somebody asks for a variance on setbacks for their property so they can put in a pool. We have to be able to determine, like, okay, is that going to have an adverse effect to the next door neighbor? Is it going to be right next to their house? Is it going to be right next to a garage? Is it going to create an adverse effect for water, like runoff? These are all the things that you have to be able to think about and articulate in the course of reviewing one of these things. Do you have any existing familiarity with what our zoning and stuff is, or would it be kind of start from scratch for you?
Well, I did years ago, as far as with my mom's property and the playgrounds and,
Mhm.
other homes and stuff. So I am aware of how they decide which goes and what doesn't go. So I am familiar with those kinds of things.
Okay.
Now with the farming and that, I've known many of the farmers, so I can relate to if they say, well, now my silo is this high, but now it needs to go this high, but do I really have to do it because of what they're saying? I understand those kind of situations.
Okay. The other important aspect of this is keeping an unbiased stance on this. So, like, even if you know the person or anything like that, you have to be able to divorce the personal preference from the decision making aspect of that. That's the one of the biggest aspects of this is making sure nobody plays favorites on anything. And Jesse and Irene, feel free to jump in anytime if you have questions for Beverly, but we just need to find somebody that is able, willing, and interested in doing this kind of stuff, because it is an unpaid position. It's an appointment. And while it doesn't happen a whole lot, there are times where it does happen. You might have one in a year, you might have 5 in a year. But we need to have people on the board that are committed to assessing it in best interest of Marion Township and the safety and well-being of the adjacent properties for when there is a request. So do you guys have any questions?
So one thing I'll just add is a lot of the zoning changed recently. So as for town center would be separate zoning than where Irene lives. That would be Topi View, right?
Yeah.
So town center has a different setback than Topi View. And then of course you got the agricultural areas, which also are underneath ag, and that's a different set of zoning as well.
Well, just
Right.
specifically, we've got town center that's
Yeah.
along Main Street there. There's I think there's a light commercial
Yeah.
along there for a couple spots. There's low density residential, there's medium density residential, and then the only industrial zoning that we have is out by the Dutch Valley Foods.
Mhm.
Otherwise, everything is pretty much either town center along the strip there, 422 has the light commercial. And then the rest of it is low density residential with the exception of Stonecroft. Stonecroft is medium density residential. Zoom around.
I was just gonna ask that. I'm
Yeah,
like,
well,
what
it's
is
trying to
this?
zoom in on me on the speaker, but I think I had the wrong button. But anyway, knowing what is where and understanding like that part of it is a big component to understanding what like the ask is and what the exception would be. So if you're okay with that, then
It'll take a lot of research.
Yeah.
Because like I said, there's a lot of multiple different areas.
Right.
The old zoning was like 3 different sections of, hey, here's in town, out of town, ag, and that was pretty much it. It was.
Yeah, I have an old
Right.
zoning.
I also do the green one.
Shows the.
yeah,
It's
it's
a green one. And now the joint zoning is page whatever, and then it'll tell you, okay, now you read this whole section, then it'll tell you at the bottom, except for town center, Marion Township, and then you got to page this another page and find that,
yeah,
and then it might tell you there might be another subcategory, and then you got to find that section too.
it's a lot more comprehensive, but it's a lot more complicated.
Right,
It's very
right.
complicated, and even Kraft has been telling me how complicated it is.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're willing to do the research and know what you're going into before a meeting, I mean, great. But that's what it's gonna take.
Yeah.
I guess I have a more simple question. Are you okay and comfortable with saying, I don't know, or I'm not comfortable with that, I need to read a little bit more?
Right,
Can you?
right. Oh, yeah,
Are you
yeah.
comfortable with that? You know, it needs to be explained and, you know, again, like we all say, you know, giving feedback, taking feedback and coming to possibly even a different conclusion than what you first entered in a room with. Are you comfortable with something like that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I know you were at that zoning board meeting with me for Twilight Acres,
Right.
if you can remember back.
Mhm.
And you had the right questions. We were on opposing sides of that, and that's okay. That's no issue. Everybody's allowed to voice their opinion. And that's a good thing that you wanted to voice your opinion. My concern was the truck dock. I think you thought that people just didn't want them having a business. I just didn't like the truck dock, going across the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Opposing
Right.
traffic, right?
Yeah.
But I wanted them to have their business, right? Let's say it's somebody that you didn't know, right? And they want to put a new business in town. And they want to do something similar. What would be your major concerns?
Well, first I'd weigh more of the option to see, like you said, my mind was focused on this aspect than yours, than,
My one concern was you were just hung up
I was.
on people saying they just other people saying they just didn't want them to have a business, right? But
Right.
my concern was, okay, now we have children on the sidewalk, we got traffic, we got headlights shining across the street into people's houses, we might have reefer trucks running, we might have all these other different standalone freezers running in the middle of a town. That's all just different things you got to consider with the area that you're going to be dealing with, because it might be Peter down in Shady Cabins, which is more rural than in town center, or it might be the farm down here, right? But they're all going to have separate zoning, but then they're also going to have to take into mind different
aspects of what the agro
Yeah, that's what I'm
area is.
trying to say. Because that area, if you're in a 75-acre farm and you have a silo and you're running equipment all night, that may not affect somebody like it would when you have a small dense area,
Yeah, exactly.
right? So that's just something I wanted to bring up, just.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you're able and willing to do it and you have the time and the drive to make sure that you're familiar with the zoning and the other materials and you can
like
keep
if
it.
I know things ahead of time, I can do my schedule that suits.
And they
what I need.
advertise those meetings, so you're gonna know a meeting's coming a month or two in advance.
Yeah, well in advance.
Yeah, and they
When
post
they
them.
get canceled.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they do.
It
get canceled
happens.
a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to thank you for your dedication to this township. We all see it and recognize it, and your continued interest in helping to do tasks and be supportive. So thank you very much. I know sometimes I don't necessarily come off like that, but I do, and I don't mean to be harsh in any aspect of it, but this is a big step, and we all appreciate you putting your name in the hat.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, thank you very much for coming out and being
Thank you,
patient and everything, waiting for us to be ready for this.
Like I said, now if I hadn't been at an appointment, I would have just got up and walked out.
Yeah, that's
And
fine.
then you would have known I needed.
Yeah, we would have figured that out.
Sorry.
Okay, take care.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we have to officially adjourn the meeting.
Yep.
So I'll make a motion to adjourn. The time is now 12:08.
Oh my God. A second.
Motion made by Peter, second by Irene, roll call.
Aye.
Peter, Irene,
Aye.
Jesse.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
Oh my God. I didn't even see Josh today.
So, I'll trim out the dead spot